First you do the dawah, then you do the money, then you get the power.
He said that Andrew converted to appease a select group of people.
This might be the last podcast that you see Farid responds,
Yeah.
and you know what happened to him.
Yeah.
And by us giving this guy
Yeah.
too much attention, too much adulation, we're setting ourselves up for failure.
We care more about the rights of the people than the rights of Allah.
It started alienating a lot of our youth, and it gave them the concept that dawah is a business.
The Zionists are terrified of the Muslims living in the West. That's why they are pumping so much Islamophobia.
People have been able to actually grift into pro-Palestine, and they've been able to build a following through that.
And for some reason, they cannot see what happened in Syria. And when you put the numbers to them, the evidence to them, you know what do they say? Cope with it. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Truly believe one of the most important dawah is to protect the capital, protect the existing Muslims. And even if you disagree with somebody, make dua for the best for them. Welcome everyone to the Life Huck podcast, special edition, because we have three well-renowned guests with us tonight. My brothers, Brother Jake here to my right, Brother Adnan, and Brother Farid. All of us together, united in minus, 35 degrees, 40 degrees weather, northern Alberta. But alhamdulillah, no matter how cold it is out here, alhamdulillah, it's warm in here. We have beautiful tea from the Mocha Coffee House, probably one of the best coffee houses I would say I've ever been to in the world. And we've been everywhere, especially Ustad Adnan. He's Mr. International. And what do you have to say about the coffee house?
Beautiful. Beautiful. The croissants were absolutely amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Desserts amazing. Tea, the Yemeni tea here is amazing. Authentic Yemeni beans tea. Alhamdulillah. We are gathered here today, and I believe this is going to be one of those podcasts that goes down in history.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Right? And it'll be a khair. I want it to be a source of khair. I don't care about the attention. Inshallah, it's not about the algorithm.
Inshallah.
It's not about the algorithm. It's about the message, right? It's about hopefully the khair that can be generated with this, the goodness that we can generate, inshallah ta'ala, with this. So I was thinking maybe we start off with something easy, non-controversial, recent, which is linked to a few discussions we had last year. So we gathered here last year as well as part of United Islam Awareness Week, speaking across Western Canada, trying to bring dawah. Actually, this year, again, they've come for United Islam Awareness Week, and in every province, we've had a shahada. So every province have a shahada, and people are accepting Islam, people are getting interested in Islam. Muslims are also learning their deen, reviving the deen in all these different cities. And so again, we're gathered here, and there was an issue we discussed last year privately amongst the three of us, but then recently which I rarely do. I'm not a big social media guy, but I recently commented on a post that Farid put up on Twitter, on X, and I got all this mixed emotions and some hate for that, okay? And I thought I was being sarcastic. I thought I was just making a joke, okay? Because I don't take social media seriously. I don't go to social media to learn, to tell you the truth. I just go to there to give just little reminders, spread awareness, try to promote, programs and things like that, events, and maybe, podcast stuff, and then, try to make the odd, sarcastic remark or something like that, all right? But anyways, there was a post about, because Farid has been doing a good job of compiling some of the problematic statements. He actually does a good job in compiling anybody's problematic statements. But there's one figure, Andrew Tate, okay, the most Google man, at one point.
I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah,
he says
no,
it.
But
Yeah.
what I wanted to say is that supposedly he's the guy who's going to bring down the Matrix. He's the Neo for the Matrix, but somehow the Matrix really likes him and promotes him in their platforms. So it's a little bit of a contradiction. Anyways, so I think you brought up something that he said or did or whatever, okay? Critiquing one of his opinions or his stances. And then I tried to push back against you in a sarcastic way. I tried to say, listen, man, like, you know, he's the only one who's the hope for the West. I made like a bombastic statement, like a crazy statement. And I thought everyone get it. Like, I'm being sarcastic. Like, this is not real, okay? Unfortunately, some people thought it was like legit. Like, they thought I'm like a hardcore like fanboy, and they started criticizing me, and then and then finally people started figuring it out and stuff. But what I was shocked to see is that people thought that it was a real statement, and then I realized it's not necessarily they didn't get the sarcasm, but there are actually fanboys that talk like that. That's what I realized.
That's right.
Is there are people who actually talk about him as a hero,
right?
As like almost like a prophet-like figure, as some guy who is actually there to challenge the matrix and make their lives better. And that's what I figured out. I'm like, this is why they couldn't get the sarcasm, is that people are actually his fanboys, okay? So we had some criticisms about him. You know, Ustad had some, Ustad Adnan was trying to be a little bit more benevolent, giving him more excuses. I think he went beyond the 70 excuses, although I think that's a weak hadith, but he went beyond the 70 excuses, right? But, you know, subhanAllah, it's an interesting phenomenon to note that the impact these online figures seem to have on the psyche of people, and where you would normally think that this is ridiculous, especially when you're coming from maybe a more traditional approach. Like, we take our knowledge from, you know, we're trying to take it from scholars, people we see in real life, in real time, and things like that. But then you see how the level of influence people have online. How do we deal with this? So right now, do you have any comments on this phenomenon, number one? Number two, you know, how are we going to navigate this? Because I think we need to push back against this mindset. We need to push back on the way that our thinking, our perspective gets distorted with, you know, a lot of this algorithm that gets pushed in our face. So I don't know if you want to start off with some of the points we discussed last year. I don't know if you want to comment on that post, some of your thoughts on that.
I could, though it may take us away from like because what you're going for is the lesson to be learned here.
Yes, yeah.
If
I'm trying to do like, again, khair. Because I don't want to, first of all, I don't want to put this guy up on a pedestal or he's enemy number one, or at the same time, you know, there's the reverse, right? Where you can look at this guy as a hero, and then you can look at this guy, this is like the Dajjal that needs to be refuted. You know, so I don't want to even give him that importance, right?
Right.
So, because I feel that also feeds into the algorithm. So, just tell me what are your thoughts on this, just raw and unedited thoughts, and then we can go from there.
Okay, so this may kind of veer away from the meaningful message that we try to get out, but the actual topic is a hot one itself.
Yes.
And that's the actual tweet that I tweeted initially. It wasn't about catching him on one of his statements that was recent. It's actually, it may have been either something that he said right before he officially converted, or it may have been something that was...
I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
You can keep talking. I'll bring it up so I can read it out.
So one of them that I shared was right before he converted by like a month or something like that, he was asked about his religion during a podcast. And he said, well, I'm a Christian in Romania, and I'm a Muslim in Dubai. And the two guys that were like interviewing him like really cracked up laughing. And he was kind of saying it with a straight face, but kind of like smiling, kind of like holding it back, you know.
Yeah.
And he was... Now, the thing is, despite that being said before his official conversion, that actually fit in really well with things that were occurring later on. Like, for example, when he was in Romania, this was about a year and a half ago, I think, he was saying, let's go to church to worship Jesus. Like, what kind of Muslim says that? And of course, there's a whole bunch of things that he's been saying that suggests that he doesn't really care about any religion. He'd say things like, I'm God, worship me, or something like that. Is that what he said, Jake? He said, did he say, I'm God? I'm your Lord.
I'm your Lord.
I'm your Lord.
Bow
Worship.
down and worship me.
Bow down and
So
worship.
he said that. He said, I'm your Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't follow a lot of these
Yeah.
things in detail.
So the
That's
only
what I'm here for, boys. I'm ready.
respect. So the only person that said, I mean, I'm only familiar with one other personality that has ever said that before Andrew. That's Fir'aun.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah.
What about if their excuse
Yeah.
is that, oh, he's playing a character,
Perfect.
right?
Perfect.
This is always the thing. I'm playing a character. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I think Alex Jones used that too when in his lawsuit.
That's actually perfect.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, the problem with the character excuse is this.
Yeah.
There was one of his friends, someone who's a Muslim who's on good terms with him, actually had an interview and said, by the way, guys, Andrew's is a nice guy. That's not how he is in reality. He's playing a character. Okay? Andrew responded to that saying, much love, brother, or something like that. Instead of like saying, hey, I'm not playing a character. If you're playing a character, you want to keep that up.
Yes.
Right? So it was very strange because he was trying to appease the brother more than stick to the character at that specific moment. Very strange behavior. In any case, so yes, he did say things that are very Christian-like in Romania, though sometimes he says things that are Islamic. I don't know, like a couple of weeks after he officially converted, he was like sharing Ibn Taymiyyah or Ibn Qayyim quote, and we're like, yeah, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But he's been playing
But do you think we get too happy when famous people
Definitely.
Throw us some flowers?
Definitely, because
Of course, yeah.
We get, what's wrong with our self-esteem? What's wrong with
exactly.
the self-esteem
That's
of the
it, man.
Muslim, you know?
The problem is the key thing here, and that's a major issue with a lot of Muslims. It's we need people from the outside to convert to Islam or say good things about Islam
To
for us to
validate
feel
us.
definitely.
Yeah.
And when Jake converted Islam, we all got this major boost, and we're like, oh, alhamdulillah, you see, that's proof that we're upon haqq because we got this sharp guy from New Jersey who's accepted it. We're not supposed to feel that way. We're not supposed to feel that way.
I disagree. I completely disagree.
Okay.
That's good.
There is nothing wrong with celebrating the conversion to Islam or reversion to Islam.
I don't think he's saying you don't celebrate the conversion to Islam.
Well, he's saying that we should not be
We should
getting
not
too
no,
excited.
but he's saying
if
we
I
should not
understood him
have an
correctly.
obsession
but
over
the
it.
thing is that shouldn't give you automatic, like, street cred. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It should.
It should
I'll
validate.
I'll give you an example.
No.
Omar,
Like in terms of
when Omar accepted Islam,
Okay.
there were takbirs in the streets of
so
Makkah
so being
because
happy
Muslims.
somebody celebrating
Yeah.
Islam or becoming Muslim.
But I want to bring this into perspective. We know
Okay,
Omar,
just so that we're on the same page, I have the tweet here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay. So then, you said, he's responding to me here. I didn't criticize him for anything to do with grooming gangs. I merely shared a clip of his former head of marketing claiming that he is only a part-time Muslim, which even he admitted to at one point. Why am I blocked? And he blocked him. Right? And then my response was, bro, he was literally nailed to a cross for shielding Gaza with his bare chest. If that wasn't enough, a group of Pakistani migrants beat him senseless for opening Christmas presents. We need to cut the man a break. He is the only hope for the West. Okay, that was my response. Pretty sorry. I thought that was like over the top.
well,
course.
it looks very real. That response looks like it came from the heart. Okay.
Like, I don't
So
know how
that-
more
that-
bombastic
that-
I can get. People were actually giving me like
No.
pushback. Like, what the heck? He's like, what are you thinking about?
Those who
this guy?"
don't know you,
Yeah, yeah.
who don't know you, can easily fall for it.
Yeah.
It's
You gotta look at my
social
profile
media.
in a
People are
second.
very
Yeah.
They're not going
brutal.
to click on your profile.
Yeah.
People are brutal on social media. They don't ask
Yeah.
questions. They will be blanket takfir of you. You make a statement without asking for explanation.
Yeah.
People will just declare you to be a murtad or a kafir or a deviant and all sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
So you have to really, really be very careful
Yeah.
before passing judgments. But I want to come back to this point Farid raised, and and I see the spirit. I know why he's saying what he's saying, but there are some details that need to be considered.
Yes.
Umar, when he accepted Islam, before he accepted Islam, radiallahu an, he was an enemy, a staunch enemy to Muslims.
Okay.
Okay, there are reports that he was out to kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sure.
Okay, and then he accepts Islam because the Prophet prayed for him. And amazingly, this is the point now. We cannot miss this point. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically prayed for these two enemies of Allah to accept Islam. Allahumma a'izz al-Islam bi ahabbir rajulain ilayka. Oh Allah, strengthen Islam by one of these two, whoever is more beloved to you. Two, Umarain. One is Amr bin Hisham, Abu Jahl, the greatest enemy of Islam, the Fir'aun of this ummah. The second is Umar bin Khattab. Umar bin Khattab. Allah chooses Umar. Allah chooses Umar. So the point is, here there is nothing wrong with praying that, oh Allah, make Donald Trump a Muslim.
Yeah, but he didn't say that.
That's not my
Let's
point.
stay-
Yeah.
I know that's not your point.
Yeah.
I'm saying when one of these guys accepts Islam, let's say a big figure,
Okay.
a person with big following, a lot of influence in the world, when someone like that accepts Islam, there is nothing wrong with celebrating that reversion or conversion to Islam. Now,
I agree.
He agrees though. Everyone agrees
Yeah, we
on that.
agree.
okay, so what were you
There's no
saying?
debate. There's no debate.
That we shouldn't.
My iman should not increase because of his conversion to Islam.
No,
I should.
Okay.
His conversion to Islam.
You know the point.
our
that we had
iman is
last
not
year?
contingent upon
Exactly.
the numbers
Exactly.
and the yeah.
Exactly.
You know,
But celebrating
the
Yeah, I don't
an
know.
event like that
Of course.
is yeah.
the issue that we had, and it's also from the experience in the Dawah and understanding, unfortunately, the hero worship culture. Okay, is that there is a tendency when a person is already famous or a person has a lot of notoriety that you automatically equate them as a figure that you can learn from or that has some type of relevance with opinion in the deen.
There is merit. There is merit to that,
Okay.
Islamically speaking. We have so many examples on the life of the Prophet
Okay.
where very powerful people either accepted Islam
Okay.
or they were given dawah specifically so that they accept Islam to influence hundreds of thousands of people.
Okay, so we're not talking about that.
Let me quickly give you
We're not talking
examples.
about that though.
Okay,
Because those people, can you admit?
so we are all on the
we all-
same
we all
page.
agree, we all
all agree
but,
on this.
But what
Okay.
I'm saying is
Yeah.
that are there people
Yeah.
who accepted Islam and then became turncoats, or either they became murtadeen, or they became they were munafiqeen, and they undermined the religion.
There are a few examples.
Yeah.
But
Now,
there
for
are
example,
also examples people turned around, they became murtad,
Okay.
they became apostates, and then they came back to Islam
Sure.
and did amazing service to Islam.
Sure.
So
That's what
it's-
we want
it's-
for
it's a-
Andrew.
Yeah.
we pray that Allah because look, what he was initially when he took
don't want
Shahada,
I don't think he converted.
you don't think he converted?
I don't think he can.
I don't either, but
I disagree.
kind of
Say-
sarcastically.
If you assume, there's a conspiracy theory. By the way, there's a conspiracy theory. I think we were discussing this privately before. That he does a lot of. When you look at his social media trajectory, his history, he does a lot of A/B testing on issues to see what gets a lot of
100%. This is 100% correct.
right? See, he does a lot of stuff. Okay, what gets traction? What are people commenting about? What are people doing? One of the A/B testings, if you want to get a lot of social media following, is you start putting good stuff about Islam because our population is huge. We have a worldwide international population. You will get a lot of following, especially if you are a person who does not look like a typical brown Muslim. Then the specialness, you know what I
Because
mean?
of what we were talking about before.
Yeah, the glitter of like, oh, this is like, a Western
The
guy.
Muslims are obsessed with this.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So then he saw that, okay, I have a huge window, huge potential in the Muslim world.
I'm gonna get a huge following.
Okay, you get a huge
Yeah,
following.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, he starts saying some good stuff about Islam.
But
testing
it's-
the waters.
It
getting a lot
seems
of
to have
traction, getting a
backfired
lot
on
of-
him
Now,
because he goes back to Romania. He gets put in jail. I have a theory on this.
But what
I have a theory on this as
but
well.
What I want to
Yeah.
say is that one of the
I'm not
conspiracy-
defending him, by the way.
one of the
I want to
conspiracy
make it clear.
Yeah.
I'm not defending the guy.
Yeah.
I'm not defending his statements.
I
I'm
want
not
people to
defending his
understand-
kufr. I'm not defending
You know
his
what happens?
misguidance. I'm defending the fact that when he accepted Islam,
Yeah.
okay, we cannot make assumptions. For example, it is possible. It is very possible that he was playing a game.
Yeah.
He was playing a social media game. He was
It's
testing
like
the
this,
waters.
It's like,
Yeah,
listen,
yeah.
I accept. I'm a famous person.
Yeah.
Or I have some notoriety, and I become Muslim, and I tell you, hey, you know what? I've just become Muslim. I need $10,000 from you. And you know I have a history of scamming people. And I just say, listen, but I've become Muslim. All my past sins are forgiven. Everything. You just gotta trust me, bro. You know what I mean? And as Muslims, you gotta. And I use all the things. It does not mean.
If
from
I
a
know you
Sharia
to be
perspective,
a con man, I would.
Person
Yeah.
is not gonna say, well, here you go, $10,000. You know, no one's gonna do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're known as a
So-
con man and someone gives you money because you say I'm a Muslim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's been doing all this A/B testing. He goes and he becomes Muslim, and now he gets this huge following. All this like hell breaks loose, and his. Do you notice Tristan was very quiet? There was a period of time. Is Tristan also Muslim or not? Is he Muslim? Is he isn't Muslim? And then he sees, listen, I gotta now come out as, you know, my brother is Muslim. I respect him, but I'm Christian.
Strong Christian guy.
Yeah,
exactly.
because there's overlap in the trad Muslim
Exactly.
trad Christian
I think
community.
I think we are
And,
overthinking about this.
not overthinking. It's overthinking.
Let's take the facts as we see them.
It's a strategy that's being employed in social media. I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
So,
Strategies.
But I have another theory on this.
Okay.
I was contacted by
a
the guy. I was contacted by his ex-head of marketing.
Yeah.
okay.
And I asked him that question. I asked him, isn't his conversion to Islam something that hurts him in terms of his popularity and whatnot? I was expecting him to say, oh, it boosted his popularity. I was expecting him to say that. He didn't say that. He said that Andrew converted to appease a select group of people.
Yes. Or possibly hurt a select group of people. Possibly to get back at them for something. So I'm trying to look. I'm trying to explain this. I'm trying to contextualize this. This is a famous guy. How famous is he is a relative question. Okay. People say he's very famous. Some people say no, he's not that famous. No one really cares about him. But he was a very well-known guy on social media. He accepts Islam. Okay. He accepts Islam. And then there are people like Muhammad Hijab. And my son Musa Adnan was there. He welcomed him.
Yeah.
You know, as a Muslim, as a new Muslim. So at that time, having known his past, very controversial, okay, very bad past, no doubt. He had done bad things publicly, and he made his money from a lot of this evil stuff, right? He accepts Islam. How shall we behave now? What is the Muslim response? Having known all the history, we're not stupid people.
Cautious optimism.
Yeah, cautious optimism. Agreed. 100%. Cautious optimism. We be cautious. We don't fall into a trap. Okay, we be very careful. We study his behavior. We don't push him back. We don't say no. Now you have to become a Maulana or a Mufti or a Muttaqi or a Wali of Allah. Then we will believe you. No, cautious optimism, 100%. So we move with caution, but we don't start accusing him of putting up an act or lying or cheating.
But
or
at
he's
what
trying
point
to-
does it become legitimate to do that?
Yeah, this is we give time. For example, now people are asking questions about Syria. These guys in Syria, who are they? Okay, we don't know. We wait how they behave. We wait to see what they do with Syria for the next 5 to 10 years, and time will show. Likewise, people like this, when they accept Islam, powerful people, influential people, controversial people, okay, people with very bad past, when they accept Islam, we see what happens. Tyson is another case in study. Mike Tyson comes out of jail with a kufi on his head. Everyone's celebrating he's a Muslim. But later on, we could see that he's not stable. He's in and out. Okay, with someone like that, you really have to take a step back and let him be, because he has his own challenges.
But there's a
Tyson-
big difference
there's
between
a-
Mike Tyson and
yeah.
Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Tate is someone who is intelligent. He's very calculated. Mike
Yeah.
Tyson is somebody who's erratic, on
Yeah.
drugs.
I wouldn't say
I
he's
would
not
say-
intelligent, but he
No, no,
has his
I would-
challenges.
You
I
know,
didn't
Jake
say
makes a very good
that.
point.
Yeah.
Jake, I would say Tyson and many people, for example, they have personal weaknesses,
Yeah.
and their weaknesses are obviously what affects their practice of Islam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyson, the pen might be lifted for
Yeah.
the guy, honestly. I mean, he's been hit in the head so many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what.
So
Andrew as well.
He makes a very relevant point, and then there are people who are purposefully, right? So for example, someone could do something against the deen through ignorance or through their weaknesses, right? But then you could have somebody, as he's saying, who has a calculated approach to manipulate people,
Exactly.
right? Who has, if you look at that one scribe of the Prophet ﷺ who became a murtad, the ruling or the consequence of him was way different than, say, for example, somebody else who was ignorant, or somebody else who became murtad and then he came back, or there was other fitan or weaknesses involved. This person was making a calculated thing, saying, "Oh no, these are stories," and he was making these false accusations against the Prophet ﷺ, right, to give maximum damage, right? He was thinking about this, right? And when you have all these youth looking up to Tate, all these youth, and he's becoming the leader of quote-unquote masculinity,
He's very dangerous.
and he's promoting toxic ideas. He
Yeah.
could be ruining families.
Yeah.
He could be ruining the next first step for these.
But I
these
think
kids.
Allah has exposed.
And by us giving
Yeah.
this guy
Yeah.
too much attention, too much adulation, we are setting ourselves up for failure.
No, but I don't think, to be fair, I don't think anyone gave him the flag of Islam. I don't think anyone made him the Khalifa or Amir al-Mu'mineen. No one. I think every Muslim activist online knows what he has been doing. He's having a massage live with a lady is giving him a massage. Come on, the guy is sitting topless, smoking
But
cigar.
you know what
This is not the
there
representation.
you know what
Yeah.
happened? This is what happened.
Yeah.
From again, this is somebody that I'm just giving from the outside in because I'm not in the middle of a lot of this stuff. But what I could say, what I saw happening, is that there is a tendency. If there's a bright light on somebody, I want some of that light. Everybody has that. I don't care if you're a da'i or not. Okay. Everybody has that tendency. I want some of your light, okay? When you have the spotlight.
It's
That's
called
one-
riding the wave
And then,
in social media.
yeah,
language,
yeah.
riding
And then
the
what
wave.
happens, there's a tendency for me, when he makes a mistake or he says crazy statements, you know what? Because this light is so sparkly, I don't want to really call him out so much. And you know what, brothers, just give him a lot of
But I think what's happening is we're missing the forest.
No.
We're missing the forest for trees.
No, but we have to
What are we actually talking about? I think I'm lost now. I mean, where are we going with this? Okay,
I
what's
think
our
we're just-
conclusion?
I think we all
What's our
agree with that.
conclusion?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we keep going in circles.
Yes. No.
We're not making sense because people are going to get confused out.
I think they're enjoying
What
it.
is the conclusion?
No, the
I think what we should
conclusion-
do
the
is give
conclusion
1 minute
is-
each and give our conclusion on Andrew Tate.
No, I think we didn't even get started on the
this-
issue. That's part of the problem.
I think we're just dragging it. I think it's going on.
The only point I'm trying to make, if I want to encapsulate it, is that the star power that he had actually manipulated us, and it actually distorted our ability.
I don't think so.
To stand up for the.
I don't
proper
think.
way.
I don't think he
I
manipulated.
think we gave him too much. It's not about. See, a lot of the things that you're saying is that about standing up for the haq or correcting him things. People gave him a lot of leeway that you would give any person who
Can I
reverts.
ask you a question?
Right?
Can I keep going? But I want to ask him a question.
I
Yeah,
don't
go
think he
ahead,
deceived
go ahead.
anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you view him now with skepticism, Andrew Tate?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I view him with
Hold on.
ultra skepticism. Yes.
What is the first thing that you saw from him that you said, okay, now there's a lot of question marks about this guy, even maybe potentially about whether or not he's sincere or Muslim or what? What is the...
There is a thin line between udhr bil jahl, making excuses due to ignorance.
Yeah.
Because someone is ignorant about Islam, they don't know what Islam is, they don't know what line to cross, what line not to cross. They don't know. A new Muslim doesn't know. They don't know these things. especially with someone with that kind of following and that kind of mouth, the mouth he has. He's very mouthy.
Yeah.
We all know that. He runs his mouth. He runs and runs, and he runs his mouth.
He had connected with people like with quote unquote knowledge in the Khalij. He was apparently just reading Quran only and doing push-ups in prison for like, God knows how long.
Yeah. So
like the
But
dude.
what was the first thing that tipped you?
So when he started to, after he, I believe what happened. This is my theory. I'm free to believe in what I like.
No
Okay.
one's attacking you.
I believe his shahada, this is my personal opinion, was initially genuine.
Okay.
Okay. He accepted Islam and he was genuine about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then he went to prison. When he went back to Romania, I believe he was imprisoned by the Zionists, the Matrix. Okay. They didn't like it.
Please let's not use that word.
No.
Please let's not use that word.
Wait, Matrix or Zionist?
Yeah, Matrix.
Matrix, okay.
Yeah.
Zionists.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
because he has so much influence online, okay.
You think he was in prison? Have you looked at his case?
Let me finish my take on this.
Okay.
And I can be wrong. I can be wrong. I can be completely wrong on this.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
He was put in prison and he was punished for announcing Islam to the world. He was punished for that. Okay. And he basically tried to ride it, as they say, ride your banger. He tried to hold up. He tried to hold his ground, as they say. But he's a human being. And then they pressurized him in some ways that we don't know of. He came out, they threatened him, they bullied him, they blackmailed him, they told him, I'm thinking of possibilities now.
Yeah.
They have videos on him maybe.
Yeah.
They have access to his money.
Worse videos that are already out there.
No, there is a lot worse that can come out. Or they have something on him, or they blackmailed him with his money that you're gonna lose all your millions of pounds or dollars.
Yeah.
You're gonna be on the street. You're gonna be bankrupt. Something happened to him. He possibly lost interest in Islam. Who knows? He possibly had a change of heart. It's possible. He's a human being, right? So he possibly had a change of heart. And now he's trying to change his stand. He's trying to appease the Zionists now. He's trying to side with extreme right-wing, racist, xenophobic. Let me finish because this is the context everyone needs to know. What really ticked me off?
Yes, I'm waiting.
Yeah, this twist, this turn, this 180 degrees turn upside down. Okay, from one side of the fence going to the other extreme side of the fence. This just simply doesn't make sense. Things don't happen like that. Okay, so I believe either it's possible that he was a plant from the very start. It is possible, and we don't know. Maybe he was, or he was blackmailed later on. Something changed his mind or his heart, and now he's gone to the other extreme. He's now going to the extent and supporting extreme right-wing, xenophobic, Zionist shills in Britain who caused riots in Britain, anti-Islamic riots. People like Tommy Robinson, he's trying to appease the extreme right, racist right-wing element in the UK. So you cannot possibly be a Muslim and do that kind of stuff. Blaming all Pakistanis for grooming gangs. I had a back and forth with him on Twitter. I don't know if you saw that. Okay, I challenged him on this. And he came back to me and he said, you don't understand what's going on. I said, I do understand. I live in Britain and I know exactly what's going on. And you deliberately chose the wrong side. You deliberately, you know what you're doing. You're not stupid. You're an intelligent man. You know what you're doing. And you're doing it deliberately. So I had it with him, right? So I think that's what changed my mind on him.
Okay, now let me ask you another question here. What is worse?
Yeah.
Him doing that, making those statements, appeasing the far right, causing all those problems.
Or calling himself God.
What?
Or calling himself
calling himself Lord.
Lord.
Bow down and worship me. Saying that he's, hold on a second.
That's kufr.
Hold on. Saying that he's going to worship Jesus on Easter Sunday, a Christian holiday.
It's kufr.
Then he goes to the church, holds up a candle in the Christian worship service, and says that he's worshiping Jesus.
This is
Which one
when
is
I
worse?
start. This is when he made
No,
these
but which
statements.
one is worse?
The statements, clear cut. The statements of kufr and shirk.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So, now, here's-
that's
hold on.
worse. That's
Hold-
worse.
And that happened first.
Yes.
So
and
why-
that's what really
why were-
changed
hold on.
when he made
No,
these statements.
No.
Yeah.
Because you just said that what made you change was his statement with the far right and
No,
appeasing
this is
them
not
and
the
this-
only. No, look.
But you know what's
No,
true
but
though for
here's-
most
let
people.
me-
If you
that's the
want me to
case.
give the chronology, I don't have one.
Okay.
I know he has said a lot of evil things, a lot of uncalled things. He has said a lot of bad stuff. Okay, I don't have the exact chronology
That's
when,
fine.
what happened, where.
I'm gonna tell you
okay,
what happened.
because I don't follow. By the way, I don't follow him.
Yeah.
I don't listen to him. I've never sat down. Wallahi, I cannot stand the guy. I cannot stand him. Okay. I don't like the way he talks. There are Muslim speakers who are Muslims doing a lot of good work. I cannot stand them. I can't sit and watch them because I don't like that kind of style. I don't like his style.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't follow him. I don't know when he said what and where. Okay. I hear things from people that he said this. Okay. And I know people are not going to lie about him, especially speaking publicly. So you just put this stuff to me and I'm telling you, clear cut is kufr.
Yeah.
Someone to say I'm Lord, worship me, whether he said it in a joke, whether he's playing
Yeah, it
a
doesn't
game,
matter.
whether he's playing a character, I do not care. The statement in itself is kufr akbar.
Yes.
For him to say I'm going to worship Jesus, he is a mushrik.
Exactly.
Okay, khalas. So when he says it, where he says it, it means not to me. It means.
But I'm going to tell you why it matters.
Yeah.
Because not only you, but, and I'll name people, Muhammad Hijab, many people, many Muslim du'at, they didn't say anything. They were quiet as a
They
church
probably didn't
mouse.
know.
No, they knew. They knew.
I didn't know.
They knew. I know.
I'm telling you, I'm very active
I
in it.
told them directly.
Oh, you
I
didn't tell
know.
me directly.
Well, I didn't speak to you about it, but
Yeah.
it's all over social media.
So
Listen, hold on a second. The Muslim du'at came out when he was making these statements and had impact in the UK. I'm not belittling it. It's very important, has very serious social consequences, everything. But nobody cared when this man said, bow down and worship me, and went to a church and said he's going to worship Jesus. That's the problem with us. Because we care more about the rights of the people than the rights of Allah. That's the problem.
you
And
may be
even afterwards-
right about some people,
no,
but not
this
all.
is true.
the
This
du'at.
is
I don't think
100% true. I challenge anybody who wants to come out and challenge me on this. Nobody was talking about this. And when I came out and I was the one making the statements about worshiping Jesus, oh, Brother Jake, don't worry about this. And then I'll tell you
No,
further.
who said that? Don't worry about that.
No, they're saying,
and
oh,
also-
you're going
and
too
also
hard
he-
on him and making
You know what
too
he was
many-
saying? Some of the statements that I
No,
saw.
I need
Hold
a
on.
name. I need a name of a major
I'll name- I don't wanna name this person
who said, "Don't worry
because-
about it."
no name
Listen,
names. No name names.
This person.
No, why not? Name and shame. No. Name
Hold
and
on.
shame.
This person, let me tell you,
Yeah.
let me give you an example.
I
made a
cannot
video.
imagine a Muslim Dawah saying that
They
he
told me not to make the video. I made a video saying that what Andrew Tate said is kufr. This is clear-cut kufr.
You're right.
I was harsh against him in the video.
And if you're making a video, no one should criticize you for that.
I received a phone call from a very popular da'i.
Okay,
Called
name him.
me. Hold on.
Name
Called
him.
Me,
Name him.
called
Name
me,
him
hold
so
on
that
a
we
second.
can have him.
Focus on the
Hold on a
point. Let's
second.
focus.
Yeah.
Called me and said, Brother Jake, why did you do this publicly? You should have advised Andrew Tate privately.
Wrong.
Listen to this. Listen.
Wrong.
No, it gets better. So I said, first of all, I don't have any private contact with him. Secondly, I already indirectly went through him when he made the statement about, I am your Lord, bow down and worship me. You know what? I went through another da'i that I knew had contact with him. I said, this is a clear-cut statement of kufr. Can you please advise Andrew
Yeah.
Tate?
Yeah.
He went to him. He was advised directly.
Yeah.
The next day, you know what he did? He made a statement saying, I retract this. You know, I repent. There's only one Rabb. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I said, Alhamdulillah. I didn't say anything publicly. The very next day, in less than 24 hours, do you know what Andrew Tate did? He went back to Twitter and made almost the identical post saying, bow down and worship me. Now
He doesn't
this
care about
person,
the truth.
So
He cares about attention.
So no,
A/B
no, no.
testing. A/B
So there's
Okay.
no
Gonna get the
excuse.
most-
No,
Okay.
but now let me
Avoid
get back to
attention.
it.
I think
But
it's
let me
clear.
finish the
I think
point
it's
here.
clear now that we are. I think we are all in agreement. We're just
Adnan,
going
No,
going
we're
around
not
in
in
wrong
circles.
horse,
agreement.
Adnan.
We're not in agreement.
We're not
Right on the
agreeing.
wrong.
Let me get back to the point now.
I'm saying it's kufr and shirk. What he
But
said. We're not
I
agreeing.
agree,
Yeah,
but let me
yeah,
get back
yeah.
to the point with this da'i.
Yeah.
So when he was on the phone with me, I said, do you know that this happened? The reason why he made this public retraction is because of me. I went indirectly and this happened. Then I told him what happened the next day. I said, Akhi, you're telling me to advise him privately. Do you have contact with him? He said, yeah, I have direct contact with him. I said, did you advise him privately? He said, no. I said, so why are you upset with me? You knew about this,
No, they shouldn't
and
be
you
upset.
didn't say anything, and you're mad at me for making this video.
If you're defending the haqq publicly,
But listen.
and if you feel it should be done publicly because he made a public statement,
Exactly.
you're absolutely justified to do what you did, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
But it's
if you ask other du'at, for example, why didn't they do it?
Yeah.
There are many possibilities.
I'm going to tell you why. He
Yeah.
told me why.
Yeah.
I said, okay.
Well, this is one individual you're talking
Yes,
about.
but I'm telling
there's
you.
a lot of
it's-
people out
it's,
there.
It represents a larger
But
problem.
I'll give you an example. I'll name people like Mufti Mank, for example. Do we expect from Mufti Mank to talk about every single incident that takes place in the Muslim world or on social media? He's focused on, let's say, there is a lot of munkar happening, a lot of people apostatizing,
No, but if-
a lot of
if
people
you've
coming
been
into,
seen-
yeah.
The difference is,
Yeah.
Adnan,
Not
if
everyone's
you've been
focused
seen-
on this
if
guy.
You've been seen
Yeah.
sitting with Andrew Tate publicly. You've been
Yeah.
in videos with him. You've been
Yeah.
laughing with
It's
him.
not
You've
like
been doing all of
everybody.
these
This-
kind of things.
it has context.
This is a big difference
Yeah,
than
and that-
somebody who's not. Now, this person is one of them. This person was seen in videos with him, and he called me on the phone, and then I said to him, why didn't you advise him? You know what he said? Because if I did, he wouldn't listen to me anyway. I said, then why are you upset with me?
Yes.
And then I said, okay, name me one person that you know who's in his circle that if they did advise him, he would accept it and stop this foolishness and retract this. He said, I cannot name you a single person, Brother Jake. I said, then khalas, you have no argument against me. What is your problem? And I told him just like this, and this is the truth.
We are in agreement.
No, but this is the truth why. I said the reason why you didn't do it, you know why? Because Andrew Tate is famous. People see him with status. He's powerful, cool, rich. He has the women. And you don't want to give that up because you think he offers you something.
He wanted a piece of
And
women.
we're-
No, I don't know what he wants a piece of, but he wants a piece of something. He said he does not want to ruin his relationship with Andrew Tate.
I think, look,
and
to be
this
fair,
is
to be fair,
hypocrisy.
and-
there is a limit. There is a limit to dhan, whether it's husnul dhan or su'ul dhan.
Yeah.
You know, we have to draw lines. Sometimes we overstep.
No,
We overstep
Akhi,
the
he
line and
said-
go too far
He
in
said,
assuming
I
things.
don't want to ruin my
I'm not talking about Andrew
relationship with
Tate.
Andrew Tate.
Yeah, yeah. His reason, this individual, I don't know who that person is.
You
why
know
he
who he
does
is.
what he does.
Yeah.
I'm
You know
not-
exactly who it is.
Seriously?
You know him.
But name him.
No, that's.
Name
It's like,
him.
start
I don't-
describing him. Okay,
if-
I'm not
if-
gonna say who he is, but he looks like this, and but
Big following.
But one thing though,
Okay.
I want you to also appreciate.
people
is,
take
not-
different- yeah.
As again, you know, the star factor is that I saw him literally insult and slander other Muslims. Even Jake, he was calling him gay.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was-
This
he-
is the
he
other
was
thing.
calling- he was calling our brothers homosexuals, things like this.
Yeah,
Andrew Tate.
yeah. So
Yes. Why are we defending him, but not these brothers who are being slandered
defending
like this?
him?
No, but
a lot of people
a
are
lot of
defending him. They're saying, Jake, you're too harsh.
Yeah.
Listen, when I came out on Twitter, I first advised Andrew Tate. I said, please take this video down. You are committing kufr. You're at a church worshiping Jesus. Take this down. You know what his response and his brother's response was? I thought it was haram to be gay in Islam. Basically, he's calling me gay, right? And yet, you know what my response was? Because his brother was the one following me on Twitter. I said, it's kind of weird that you are following behind me on Twitter and you're calling me gay. That's a little weird.
I think they're doing more damage to themselves than they are to you by making.
But is this
statements-
sincere?
Absolutely not. We have already established that anyone who, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Andrew Tate. It could be someone bigger than him on social media. It doesn't. Let's say one of the Muslim figures tomorrow comes out and makes a kufr statement. We would, there and then, absolutely either correct him or challenge him that this is kufr.
And if he turned around and said, Adnan, you're gay.
No problem. I said, okay, prove it. Bring your evidence. Yeah.
But at that
bring your
point,
evidence.
when he's doubling and tripling down,
Yeah.
Akhi, at what point do you say, this person is not Muslim?
No. Look, if someone makes a statement of kufr,
Yes.
the first thing you do is you say this is a statement of kufr.
It's been told
Yeah,
to him.
yeah, that's it.
Both privately
and
and
then
publicly.
after that, instead of going around the world with this guy, wasting your time over him, just make your statement, make your point clear, and move on. I think people know Most Muslims are not stupid. All
most
those
Muslims
Yeah.
are thirsty for some type of validation. That's the problem.
no, there's nothing wrong with that.
There is something wrong with that. I would disagree.
Adnan, the majority of people, I'll
Our
tell you.
connection should be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What
Absolutely,
Allah, how
but
subhanahu wa ta'ala
Allah
sees
gives
us.
victory through people. So if Muslims want some boost to their morale, let's say, boost. For example, the Muslims of Mecca, they could not pray openly, publicly. Umar comes to Islam, this gives them a boost. They already believed in Allah. These Muslims in Mecca already believed in Allah. So when Umar accepted Islam, when Hamza accepted Islam, Allahu
Umar bin
Akbar.
al-Khattab radiallahu
Yeah.
anhu, you're talking about somebody who was consistent in the deen. Consistent. So he is not contradicting himself. He is not causing harm
He didn't,
to the deen.
and he
No,
did
he
not. He did not become Muslim and then say, "Oh, I'm going to the Kaaba, right, and I'm going to worship the pagan gods."
I don't know why.
What would
he-
happen?
No, guys. There seems to be an assumption that I am actually. I'm actually. I'm
No, but you're comparing Andrew
but-
Tate to.
No, I'm not. I'm not. No. Try to He made a specific point. Dr. Syed made a specific. He said we shouldn't seek validation.
Yeah.
I'm saying there is nothing.
Validation is different than being happy or taking that as a sense of bashara, like
to
good,
boost
glad
morale.
tidings. You know what I
To
mean?
boost morale.
Okay.
Boost morale.
Who
Nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But
So
not to the
you're
point where
confusing
he's
the terminology.
saying
I'm saying,
kufri
like,
statements
okay,
and say nothing.
it's like
This person accepts Islam.
exactly.
No, I agree,
I feel
yes,
good
yes.
to be a Muslim now. You know what I mean? Guess what? Andrew Tate's a Muslim. I'm a Muslim now. Now you're telling everybody you're a Muslim. Do you understand what I'm saying? That it's as if it's validating.
This has space. This has room in Islam for this. For
I'd
example,
like to comment on this. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
there were people who accepted Islam and their entire tribes accepted Islam. because of the
100%.
religion.
I have a
fine.
good way to end this.
So
Farid.
people's
Yeah.
iman is sometimes
Yeah.
contingent upon someone else accepting
No
Islam.
problem. No
Yeah.
problem.
And the
So-
Prophet acknowledged that, by the way.
No,
That's
no.
why the Prophet told Heraclius
Yes.
in the letter, you accept, okay, and the
But
people will follow you.
what did Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anh, he told his generals, he said that keep the people like don't put the murtadeen or those people who apostated and came back, don't put them in leadership positions.
Agreed.
So it's not like a blanket thing
Like,
that
because they're unstable. They can come, it's like table tennis, ping pong, coming and going, coming and going. So,
you
yeah.
gotta see.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about
Yeah.
all this stuff. I've learned in the past few years of being involved in the Dawah scene that even if like the highest authority in Islamic studies left Islam, it should not affect my faith or any Muslim's faith. And if the biggest authority in Christianity or in whichever religion converted to Islam, it shouldn't increase my faith. At the end of the day, it should be based on evidence. It shouldn't be based on personality.
100%. Agreed.
And we understand that there can be effects and there's ways to making the heart soft for people and
boosting
whatnot.
the morale of the Muslims.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem becomes is when you make that shift where now it's almost like a form of shirk where I'm learning my deen or the validation of my deen is through a person. And it's very easily done through that because that's the whole platform. That's how the whole platform is designed.
Exactly.
The whole platform is designed is for you to follow and worship individuals.
Absolutely.
Right?
Allah remains Rabbus Samawati wal Ard regardless of who accepts Islam or who rejects Islam. It doesn't.
And I'm by the way, in social media, I have nothing. I'm nobody. But I also did a direct message to him. When I saw some of this coming out, I saw it June 2023. And I said, listen, I feel like you don't know a lot of the basics about Islam. I did it very respectful. I'm just summarizing. I said, if you ever want to learn, I'll give you free classes, just to learn some basics about the deen. Because I told them like you have a massive influence.
That's a real effort. That's commendable.
You know what I mean?
You're
And I
actually
also
doing something
I assumed
tangible,
Tristan was Muslim too,
reaching
so I
out to
sent
them.
the same message to him. I said, it seems like you don't know too much about the deen, so let me, if you want.
But I think his case,
You know what I mean?
to summarize, to conclude, I think his case has been very.
And I also said, I don't want this to be on social media or anything. If you do it, we'll do it private. I don't want to get any type of like acknowledgement that I'm teaching you or anything like that, right? So I wanted to take that out of the equation because a lot of people could be saying, hey, I want to teach you or engage with you so I can get, some social media credit. You were going to say something as well about...
I was just going to ask Farid if he believes Andrew Tate is a Muslim.
Yeah, so very briefly, as I've mentioned before, his head of marketing, his ex-head of marketing, DM'd me and shared some thoughts, and he said the whole thing is a grift. And what he said falls in line with what Andrew was saying before he announced his conversion. So even if I didn't accept his ex-head of marketing's testimony, I still have those clips of Andrew, of what he said before, and plus his behavior of him saying, worship me, and him saying, let's go worship Christ. Yeah, no reason to assume that this is legit.
In your experience as a da'i for many years, you've seen people accept Islam, correct? And you've seen them grow over the years. Is there a common thread that you see with people who accept Islam that you could say, when I see these certain behaviors, I see sincerity and they usually last in the deen?
Yes.
Are there certain things? What are some of those things?
They start to seek knowledge immediately.
Okay.
Okay. And you start to see a change in their character.
Okay.
In the way they dress, in the way they behave, in the way they interact with the Muslim community.
Perfect.
Okay. These are the things. These are indicators that show that a person is growing in Islam and is taking Islam very seriously.
Yes.
Okay. On the other hand, if someone accepts Islam and is showing signs of drifting away, or continues to be the person they were before Islam, then you have to suspend judgment. Because I've seen many characters who have been Muslims for like 20, 30 years. They still drink, they do clubbing,
Yes.
they do. But when you ask them, are you Muslim? They say, yes, I'm Muslim. I pray
Yes.
sometimes. I'm weak. So people like this, you make dua for them, suspend judgment.
But
on
generally,
them. Yeah.
those types of people,
Yeah.
would you say there's a higher category of them? They come into Islam and then they leave when they don't grow in knowledge, or they don't practice, or they
Not
don't.
necessarily. No, people still hang on to threads.
Okay.
You know, sometimes.
So, like for example, you had two groups of people.
Yeah.
One group has the character trait of acquiring knowledge, of being involved in the community, reforming their
And they
behavior.
tend to last.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from that group, do you see more people leave back Islam?
No.
Okay. So would you say from that second group that people who don't practice, don't grow,
They are
that
more likely to.
they're more likely
Possibly.
to leave, they're more likely
Yeah, they're
to
more
leave
likely
Islam.
to
Okay.
leave. Yes.
Now, and
Or forget about it.
in the past 20 years, there's another thing that we have been exposed to in the Dawah. So I agree with you. And I think even with your experiences in Dawah, you may also agree with that the ones who practice and grow and reform their character, they're more likely to last in Islam as Muslims.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Okay. Okay. Well, a third category we have seen in the past 20 years, with especially the war on terror, is people who appear to accept Islam, and they appear to want to be sincere in what they do, but then these people turn out to be agents,
Yeah,
and they set up
planted.
they set up Muslims.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a third category, especially in the past 20 years, and that has made us, aware and also suspicious of the actions of certain people, because it can be
Yeah.
very harmful.
Yeah.
We've seen the harm that, because oftentimes when there's a new Muslim, you give them extra credit,
Yes.
and you're more gracious towards them, and you want more help towards them, and so forth, right? And so that's always been the case,
Yes.
right? And then these past 20 years, when you see this third group,
Yeah.
because there's an agenda, there's funding behind it, and so forth, and you've seen the harm that they have done, we've had to navigate a little bit more carefully
Yes,
around
agreed,
people like
yeah.
this, right? So before, where you could just give a blanket, acceptance, this person's ignorant, we need to be patient, we have to be now aware of the harm that can happen with this third group of people, okay? Now, I see elements of this third group of people on social media, where perhaps they have an ulterior agenda, and because of the graciousness and the tradition in our deen of how we should deal with the Muslims and new Muslims, they're able to exploit that. That's the point that I was trying to make in terms of trying to safeguard our community from being exploited, especially our youth.
And to give you credit, Dr. Syed,
Yes.
When we discussed this topic, I think 3 to 4 years ago, when his so-called conversion was new,
Yes.
was recent,
Yes.
and you raised these questions,
Yes.
your skepticism was valid, and it was well-grounded, and I give you that credit. At the time, I was optimistic, or I was a bit more
I was optimistic, but I said, you know, we have to
Cautiously
be,
optimistic.
we have to be aware.
Yeah.
And I feel we need to create messaging
Yeah.
where we can't fall in love with people
Yeah.
more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to love our deen. We need to get our
100%.
confidence
Yeah.
from our deen
Yeah.
and not from personalities.
Yeah.
Because there are people who have huge followings on social media.
Yeah.
But guess what? In like on the road, like in on the streets, in the reality,
Yeah.
they don't have a present
Yeah.
because you have to be more patient. There's a level of litmus test
Yeah.
when you're in real life dealing with people.
And what if someone big or famous or ultra religious, let's say, someone who has been known for activism in Islam, turns out to be a scumbag, turns out to be even a murtad?
Yeah.
Well, are we going to leave Islam?
Yeah,
Just like the
exactly.
Prophet ﷺ
Exactly, we
said,
don't lose
there were
hope.
prophets who came before
If your
Rasulullah
hope is
ﷺ.
tied in that person, if they leave,
قَدْ
you
خَلَتْ
leave.
مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ.
Yeah.
Okay, are you going to turn
back
on
on
your
your
back?
heel.
Yeah. So we are very clear on this.
And you know,
Yeah.
some of the criticism against Andrew Tate, I actually defended him against that because there was sisters who were making statements.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
They
on
were
the other
saying that
side.
I'm going to leave Islam because he came into Islam. It's like your Islam is dependent on
Exactly.
this guy
Who
coming.
comes
and
or who goes
you know,
out.
No,
Yeah.
you don't.
Your Islam
base-
is not real. Yeah,
you
absolutely.
don't base your Islam on
but
that.
I think we were conflating earlier two things.
Yeah.
One is to celebrate and to be happy about someone accepting Islam, whether it's a famous
Exactly.
person or whether it's someone unknown,
Yeah.
and becoming a stronger Muslim by looking at this person. These are two
Yes.
different things.
Yeah.
Okay. The first is fine. You can
Yeah.
celebrate. The second is no. Your iman has to be contingent upon the merits of Islam.
Exactly.
The merits of the Quran.
And that's why
Yeah.
of all the celebrities, who I respect his statements is Khabib, because he was asked, "Are you a role model
Yeah.
for our community?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Brother, you know, we already have a role model. We have the Prophet ﷺ as a role model."
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually respect it, notwithstanding, you know, the halal and haram of MMA and stuff. But when he said that, I actually respected that a lot because he said, "Listen,
Yeah,
I'm
don't
not the
follow
role
my-
model.
don't
It's
follow
the
my-
Prophet
yeah.
ﷺ is our," and he's repeated that statement over and over and over again. And that is something that I think we can promote and we can celebrate.
Absolutely. Agreed.
What do you think?
No, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I think we should, if we can, try to connect this topic to the whole algorithm discussion because
Yes.
I think it's directly related to why people are following certain people, why they become obsessed with certain content, right? And it's not only with people accepting Islam. There's an obsession of the Muslims with the kuffar, seeking validation from them. It's like if someone, for example, on the issue of Philistine, right, a non-Muslim says something about, you know, the Zionists and condemning them and everything, the Muslims get so excited. They're sharing,
emotional.
They're sharing
They're
all this
looking at
stuff
us as
around.
human beings.
Oh my God, they love it so much. Then if Brother Jake or Adnan or Farid says the exact same thing, copy and paste, nobody's sharing it. Nobody really cares. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Who cares? Then they see that one statement by this person who said some good things condemning the Zionists. They become obsessed with this figure.
Yeah.
They start following every lecture they do from now on. They're waiting and they're like, oh my God, when is so-and-so going to become Muslim? And it's just very strange mentality. So yes, there's no problem with being happy when somebody becomes a Muslim, right? I used to be a non-Muslim. I became a Muslim. Alhamdulillah. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's a fine line between that and obsession of validation from the kuffar to the point where we obsess over their statements. We're seeking them to validate us and our positions and our deen. This is a very wrong way to look at it.
Yeah, I agree 110%. Go ahead.
Just a quick comment in regards to why the layman Muslim sometimes falls into that. I feel like there's an issue with lack of role models. It's not because of there really being a lack of role models, but if you ask the average Muslim, who is your favorite scholar, who do you listen to, who do you really respect from the ulama,
Yes.
they have no idea who you're talking.
Yeah.
They'd be like, they wouldn't even be able to give you a name.
I had one lecture at a masjid where I asked people, okay, do you know? And I had to look it up. Who were at that time the latest celebrities? So I was looking it up, and I started mentioning, oh, do you know who this person is? This person is. This person is. And everyone's like, yes. And then I said, can anybody name for me the 10 promised paradise amongst the Sahabas? Ashra Mubashirin al-Jannah. Can you name that for me? People had a hard time naming like 2 or 3. Right, wow. And they're all doing the same ones, like Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and maybe Ali. They get to that. Yeah. After that, they're lost. After that, they can't name a single one of them. Yeah.
So another reason why this is so dangerous is not just because they latch onto, non-Muslims role models or non-Muslim influencers. The other really negative effect is deen becomes something that's very unstable. It just becomes following your desires. You find someone that's popular saying something that appeals to you, even if it conflicts with the Quran and Sunnah, they'd still accept it because, hey, that person said it. But what if, to us, right, to us who are familiar with scholars and look up to certain scholars, if that specific scholar said, this is haram or this is shirk, it's a red line for us. We would never entertain such a thing. However, those that give no respect or have no appreciation for ulama, they're completely lost.
Yeah. And I think what ends up happening because of that mindset, I've experienced it myself for years in the Dawah. So, for example, Sheikh, we'll have a Dawah event, we'll have a conference, we'll have a tarbiyah camp, and people will say, oh, you should invite this famous speaker. Get this famous speaker to come out, right? And many of the scholars and du'at we use, they don't have big names. Mm-hmm. For example, one of my shuyukh, he's from, you met him, right? He's from Nadratul Ulama, so he's from India, right? So Hafid at a very young age. Then he went to Saudi. Gets master's, PhD. MashaAllah, very accomplished. His actually referral for his PhD was written by Sheikh bin Baz. Gave him his referral for his PhD. I've seen that imam in the back of the masjid. Nobody is asking, nobody's utilizing him. And then you have a group of people who are just reading to each other from Fadail Amal, right? They're just reading from that book and not understanding, much of even what they're reading. And they're just there and neglecting this, right? Neglecting the sheikh. I saw that because I grew up in that community and I learned from that sheikh, right? And I would see this oftentimes happen, right? As I grew up. So it's not a new phenomenon, is that a person who is very famous, okay, why don't you bring him? A lot of times I tell the brothers, I said, listen, the people that we work with, I've actually spent time with them. A lot of times I've visited in their house. We've traveled together. We've ate together. And I can tell you the people that you're learning from, what you see in public is what you see in their private life. There are speakers that we have brought, very famous, that we can fill up the hall. These same speakers, when you see how they are in private, it's completely different. Completely different. I've seen a speaker who's in public talking about ikhuwa, brotherhood. And a brother would come to him because he had a special request for a special type of cereal. And he goes around the whole city finding this box of cereal. He comes to the sheikh's hotel, brings him this cereal. He takes it. This is not the one I asked for, and throws it in his face.
Astaghfirullah. Wow.
This is what I've seen, Sheikh. And that's why...
You had someone like that...
Name him. Name him.
No, seriously. These kind of
but this is not an isolated incident.
These kind of people
this is not an isolated,
are no different to
we judge
no different to belly dancers. I'm sorry to say this. Right? They get paid, they come and dance, and they take the money and they go. Because, and I say belly dancers are probably more consistent than these people. Seriously, I don't know who this person is. I don't know who this person is. Look. I really want to put some light on this.
Yeah.
There are some so-called sheikhs out there, celebrity sheikhs, who think that every single brother who drives them around, picks them up from the airport, is the slave. Okay.
I'm gonna get some of this.
This slave they have bought from the market for 5 to 10 days to slave around. Okay. These kind of people, they clearly have no tarbiyah, and they haven't learned from the knowledge they are seen to be preaching in public. So when we see behavior like this, Sheikh, I believe we should not put up with it. We should not tolerate it. Immediately, you should have got this guy to pack his bags and put him on the plane.
We actually had a meeting contemplating, should we just send him?
No. You should. I believe this should not be tolerated under any circumstances. Okay. Yeah, there is a limit to respect.
You know, there's shuyukh. I'll tell you right now. There's again. These are popular people. They've walked into a hall. They said there's not enough people here and left.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Just walk into a hall. There's
ridiculous.
I'm telling you, there's stories after stories of people who but people run after them. If their name is on the poster, you're gonna see the hall fill up. And then if you have other people, it's like, oh yeah, you know what? I can just maybe see them online. Maybe there's not hype to go, see them in person or try to get a selfie or whatever, right?
But there's another issue here now. The problem is the reason why people like this are out there and are popular because they are active. Okay, they are in public. They are doing some work, right?
Do you think the algorithm is disproportionately promoting some people?
I don't know about that.
Are there algorithm prostitutes?
No.
You don't think
I don't accept that theory. Hamza, he needs to be
Let's
he needs to be dealt with. If
originally Hamza, you were supposed to be here.
I don't agree with this theory.
Yeah.
Okay?
Why don't you agree with it?
I think partly because Hamza doesn't have a large following online and he's jealous. Okay.
Okay. Hamza, you could have been here to defend yourself. You could have. We gave you the chance.
He has a huge following, mashallah. But to say this is absolutely, it's unnecessary.
Well,
but I think hold on maybe the terminology is scaring.
There is nothing. Give the background because maybe some people didn't watch the podcast who will see this. We have to give a little background to it.
I'm gonna contextualize this.
Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with using means to grow your following, with the intention.
Is there anything wrong with manipulating principles?
No, absolutely, that's wrong. I mean, our principles are clear.
Yeah.
We cannot cross lines that are drawn by Allah and His Messenger. I'm being very simple.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with a da'iyah online trying to push his work out so that he can get more people to watch and benefit, learn from it, because the intention should be to educate people, to get this knowledge out there so that people can have confidence, they can learn this content, they can build their iman and their Islam upon this. There's nothing wrong with promoting.
Is that what you're talking about? I think maybe you're talking about marketing. He's talking about algorithm.
No, algorithm is connected to marketing. You know, when you do certain things for clickbait.
That's what I'm saying.
For
we
example,
have to back
clickbait.
up and explain what we mean here.
For example, clickbait. Sometimes you
do. So you brought up belly dancing, right?
Yeah.
So let's say, for example,
I couldn't find any other
let's say,
better parallel to people who are throwing back.
Let's say, for example, every Moroccan restaurant says you cannot operate without belly dancers, and you want to open a Moroccan restaurant. Are you gonna have a belly dancer there?
No, absolutely not.
But it's like there's no way because this is how we market. There's no way to market it. There's no way. I'll give you another better example.
No, I don't accept this.
No, I'll give you another example.
In fact,
I'll give you another example. Yeah. Nobody said that, or everyone used to say that. Okay, in a coffee shop, you always have to play music. Every coffee shop you go to, you play music.
Wrong.
Do you hear music here?
No. But
exactly.
I see a lot of people here,
right?
So the
but yeah, why?
You don't have to compromise. Yeah.
But
you don't have to cross lines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is where people. You know what happens is shaitan gets you to do minor
#mocha
to get you to major harams. Okay. So shaitan is not going to take you from your salah on the musalla to idol worship. He's going to put you on a trajectory.
Yes.
Step by step, sequentially. Shaitan is going to eventually. His aim is to
make you compromise a little bit.
Yeah.
Then a little bit.
And a little bit.
Then a little bit.
And you end up.
I feel happening right now, but
but that's.
It's like the story of Barsisa. It's a very famous story. I don't know how authentic.
The algorithm is designed to just slightly manipulate your behavior. Slightly manipulate.
This is a challenge with everything in life.
Yeah.
This is not a challenge just online because Riya, the line between Riya and working for the sake of Allah is a very thin line. Wallahi, you can easily be back and forth. You know, it's like a chart. You know, the ECG chart.
Yeah.
But that's what we're talking about, Adnan. Yeah. Do you think there are any du'at who are crossing that line?
I cannot assume what's in their heart. I mean, if they are publicly doing haram to gain following, okay, to gain
we're not
extra
saying
following.
100% of the time. We're saying, have you watched a video or a statement somebody made and you said, this seems like they're clearly motivated?
I have no right to.
It's hard.
Assume that
I can understand his.
Yeah, I don't want to assume that someone is sincere in doing their good work.
I'll give an example.
I don't want to assume that.
I'll give you guys an example.
Okay, he might have an example.
Maybe this will help.
Okay. Case study.
Someone comes, of course, without mentioning examples or
I'm going to mention a name when you're done, but go ahead.
Okay.
So maybe you can go ahead, I guess.
No, why don't you go with yours first?
Okay.
Let's start with.
So I've heard a rumor about Jake, right? And
it's true.
and what I should be doing is I should be verifying. I should be looking into it. I should be looking at context.
Yes.
I should watch the full video. But instead, because of algorithm prostitution, is that the word?
Yes.
What I'll be doing is I'll just.
They like to call it algorithm sex work. That's the woke term for it.
So
shout out to Hamza.
So what I'd be doing is instead of watching the full video, I'd be rushing.
Forward it.
I'd be rushing to put that clip together, condemning him, putting up a thumbnail that's saucy.
Yeah, that behavior is dubious. Absolutely.
Yes.
Agreed.
Now the thing is, the reason the reason why I'm not taking my time to look into the full video.
I got to be the first.
Say again?
You got to be the first.
One, that's a very good one. I got to be the first. And two is because I want to believe it in order for me to be the first, and in order for me to put that saucy video out. I think saucy is the appropriate term here.
Yes.
And views.
Saucy.
And we
Saucy.
spoke about.
But people like this are never successful anyway.
Nah, I
Actually, on the platform, there's not
They're
not
very
not in
successful.
the akhirah necessarily.
In order to get success, you have to do this.
Yeah.
You're more likely to get more following if you do this
They're
kind
not
of.
getting the reward from Allah.
Adnan, you brought up an example the other day. Do you remember the example
Which one?
about who we spoke about when you said this person did something without actually understanding the context of what the sheikh said, and then it was shown to that person clearly, and they still never retracted it. You remember?
Please remind me of the.
Someone who made the video about two people. Someone who made a video about two people. That was the discussion.
Come on, Akhi, you don't remember?
I'll name the person.
No, we're not. Let's avoid. Again, I want to get people the lessons and
we
not
all
the drama.
I'm saying you explicitly said that you were the one who spoke about it. You made a video about it. You spoke to the brother privately, and then he still never retracted it. And he knew exactly what happened.
I don't remember. Wallahi, I don't remember. My memory is fading. But anyway, the point stands that anyone who deliberately does things just to gain following and has no concern for the education of the Ummah, has no concern
I don't think
for
it's
Islam.
purely for that, but it can be a mixture.
Yeah, a mixture is a problem. A mixture is a problem.
But mixture is definitely happening.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
There is. I don't think.
Okay, let me
I don't
name
think we
one.
can
Let
put
me name
anybody.
somebody.
But do we have the instruments to measure the level of people? Yeah.
You know, what if
You
they
know
come out and say it?
how many we have actually a lot of wisdom. We have writings from our scholars talking about ar-riya.
We have to
and
judge
we have
by the
to
apparent.
honestly.
Are we going to now become Sharia thermometers?
No. It's,
And Dr. Omar.
hey,
we're gonna,
but you know what? It's a struggle.
Yeah.
I think it's when
It's
you
a struggle for all of us.
when you exactly
Right now we're doing
100%.
this we don't know when our niyyah fluctuates to something else and then it comes back to
up and down.
Okay.
And the thing is that I think what a good point Jake makes is that it's always a mix. It's not
we're not
absolutely
saying
black.
something's pure
It's not
evil.
absolutely white. It's usually
This is
a
why
mix.
I believe.
And that's why we need to remind ourselves.
Don't
and
rely
try
on your public deeds.
And the whole idea, I think, so we can be clear.
Yeah.
The whole idea with what we're trying to say is we're trying to change the culture.
Yeah.
And we're pushing back against things that are normalized. Because it's very easy to just follow the normalized trends and not be aware and conscious of how those trends have been manipulated.
I have, Dr. Syed, I have some methods to really bring some of these du'at or these celebrity du'ats down to the
The
ground.
durra, right?
Yeah, down to the ground. Okay, I believe sincerely. Now we know the problems. Jake has raised some valid questions about this. That these things
Yes.
are real, and
Yes.
I believe they may be real.
Yeah.
Okay, although we cannot judge for certain
If
for
somebody
sure.
says it out of their own mouth.
Yeah.
We're not
I mean,
talking
if
about
someone
we're not
makes up
talking
a-
about an
but
official
I'm about to make a
ruling
very
by a qadi. We're
Yeah.
talking about
What the question now?
Yeah.
I want to talk about what can we actually do about it. Do we have any responsibility towards these du'at? Do we have any?
course we have to,
Yeah,
yeah.
we do. So we.
They're
should-
our brothers. We're all
we
brothers,
should-
man.
We should have organizations that actually specifically work to take care of the du'at. Not only their financial needs, not only other, the education needs, for example,
Yeah.
they need to be educated consistently, but also their moral well-being. You need to take them out, let's say for a week, and do. Doesn't matter
There
who
has
the,
to be people that keep them in check.
Yeah,
If they
yeah.
don't look up to anyone, if
Yeah,
they don't have
yeah.
a sheikh, if
Yeah.
they don't have
So-
a scholar that says, "Hey, listen, man,
Well, some of them
you're
are scholars
getting."
themselves. Some of these people are scholars.
I know,
Yeah.
but
Some
I'm
of these people
saying,
are scholars.
But
yeah.
any one of us can receive reminders.
Yeah.
Any one of us can
so-
receive.
yeah.
So-
By the way, to be clear,
So
we're
what-
not saying that we are exempt from this.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to be advised as well.
Yeah.
We're not saying that we're.
No, I am saying I have a radical solution to this, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna work. Okay, take them on a retreat. Okay, for a week somewhere. And,
is already
and
sounding
get
quite
them to
radical.
Cook. No, get them to cook, clean, wash the toilets. Yeah, do their beds. No,
You're
seriously.
talking about Camp Sunnah.
Camp
Literally
Sunnah.
You're literally talking about
Camp
Camp
Sunnah is
Sunnah.
taking youngsters who are still up and coming. I'm talking.
We have
about,
to have
I'm talking about
one for the du'at. We
No, no,
can do
yeah,
the same thing,
I'm-
but for the
Yeah.
du'at.
Exactly. I'm talking about major
Our- you know,
du'at.
our-
Set it up.
You know,
Yeah.
you know our
Set
speaker.
it up.
You know,
there's a
our
story-
speakers.
There's
they
a
actually,
story of Sheikh Sha'arawi.
Yeah.
I heard the story that once he stopped at a masjid in Egypt somewhere, and he was gone for a long time. And the driver is thinking, where's the sheikh gone? Okay? And then he went looking for the sheikh, and he saw the sheikh in the toilets of the masjid. You've heard this? Yeah? He was cleaning the toilets. You know, the masjid toilets
Yeah.
are the worst toilets
The-
on the planet, unfortunately. The way Muslims use them, especially in Egypt and Morocco. I've seen some nightmares.
Yeah.
So the sheikh was cleaning the toilet, and he was talking to himself. Do you know the details, Farid? I don't remember what he was actually.
What I recall is he once was out in his car, and then like the people were so happy about him being out, like they were like pushing the car up, and
Yeah.
it was. And like he felt
was a
like
rush.
really really proud yani, about him, and then he wanted
Subhanallah.
to bring himself down.
Allahu Akbar.
Yes.
So the story is he went to the washroom to bring himself down and humble
And he was
himself.
washing the toilet and
Yeah.
talking to himself. Do you think
Yes.
you're this? You think
Yeah.
you're great? You think you're a sheikh?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
This is who you are.
Yeah.
And the driver, the story came out eventually,
Yeah.
right? So the point is, this is a proper scholar.
Yes.
This is someone who knows his limits. So someone, we all need to actually sit down.
Yeah.
Those who are public, okay? We know who we are. We know how much we practice Islam, how much we care about Allah and His Messenger. We know deep inside. We know our limits. We know how forward and how advanced we are, okay? So we should all sit separately alone and actually think about what are we doing? Are we doing it for Allah or are we doing it for something else? Okay? This constant reminder is needed. We are human beings. People think, unfortunately, social media has created this image as if these people are superheroes.
Yes.
That's
course.
Spider-Man, this is
Yes.
Superman, this is Iron Man. This is, they have created this image. They think these people, they cannot go wrong. They cannot mess up. They don't have personal challenges. They don't have any, shaitan doesn't attack. But little do you know what some of these du'at go through in their private lives.
It's not easy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we really need to look into it more carefully. Talk about it more publicly.
Yes.
Okay, talk about du'at and the challenges and how they can fix them personally and what the community can actually do to protect them. This is a reciprocal relationship. Du'at need to work. Du'at need to work on themselves, and at the same time, the community, the masses, the Muslims. Okay, they need to reach out to the du'at and actually ask them, you're defending us, you're representing our faith. Can we do something? How can we help you? Do you
Yes.
need any help? Do you need any support?
Yes.
Do you need a doctor? Do you need a psychiatrist? Wallahi, sometimes people, wallahi, see, you're laughing, but there are people, du'at out there with mental issues.
Yeah. That's.
Issues, I have met people myself,
Yeah.
okay? So I'm telling you, there are serious challenges.
You make a good point.
Yeah.
I believe, and I firmly believe this. This is a really good point, that people who are serving the deen, the best service that we can do for them, a lot of times we think just by just giving them that superficial recognition, you're doing a great job, liking all that other stuff, giving them all these different flowers
Clap in the back.
is what's benefiting them. I think that's could be harming them. If you truly want to support, sometimes you need to befriend them. What do you need?
Yeah.
Sometimes you might need nasiha. You might need financial help. You might need help with the support with their health. They're having issues with their family. They need support with family issues. I've seen that myself. Many of the imams, they're burnt out because of the lack of community support. You just suck them dry, and we're actually only giving them superficial reciprocation or benefit. Right? For me, I would say, somebody making sincere dua for me, somebody sincerely caring for my well-being in terms of my akhirah, that's probably one of the best supports that I could receive from anybody. And I appreciate that many of our du'at, many of our imams, they have incredible fitna and challenges that they're dealing with. And I think one of the best ways that we can support internally amongst the community of du'at and workers is that we do develop these programs where you can go through that process of tarbiyah together and remind one another.
And Muslim community needs to take responsibility, just like we take care of our children, our institutions, our masjid, our madrasas.
Yes.
We need to take care of these human beings who are called du'at or ulama or scholars, those who are working hard day and night trying to protect the community. Otherwise, what's going to happen is what happened in the US recently.
Yes.
You know the case I'm talking about, where this guy was indicted for something very evil, something very unbelievable. A well-known person.
Abuse.
Teaching Quran.
Yeah, abuse.
Teaching Quran.
But
Okay.
how's that, like, how is taking care of the guy going to solve that? Is it like the guy...
It'll keep him in check. It'll keep
Okay.
them in check.
Right.
They will feel responsible towards the Ummah. They will feel that the Ummah is taking care of them. They are looking up to them. They have some care. Someone loves them. Someone cares for them. Du'at are human beings. They are not made of stone. They are not iron. They are skin. They are skin and bones, right? So they just like your children need love and compassion. Sometimes, and I'm telling you, some of the most lonely people in the world are some of the most famous people. So-called celebrities. They are the most lonely people in the world. Okay, and du'at are no exception. These big names. Wallahi, if you peek into their lives, you think, they are at a venue. A lot of people come and say salams. They want to take pictures with them. They want to give them gifts and all these things. They go back home. They are alone. They are alone for the next month. And so there has to be a very consistent effort to continue, the dynamics of the world have changed now because we are so far apart from each other. But these devices have made things easy for us. We can make video calls, we can have programs for them, we can invite them to, and amazingly, I love this program in
Problem
Africa.
is we're not doing it though.
Sorry?
We're not doing enough of it. We're not doing it.
We're not doing it.
What we're doing
But there is
here,
one I wanted to,
You know what I'm saying? What we're doing here, having this podcast, discussing these things, this is extremely rare.
Yeah.
Even to get du'at on a Zoom call together,
Yeah.
just 5 of us on
Yeah.
the same day at the same time is almost impossible. Everybody's busy, which I
We're busy,
understand, and
yeah.
doing things, but we don't make time to actually speak to each other, even privately, and have these discussions and talk about these issues. That's the biggest problem.
Or everything is transactional.
Yeah.
For no reason, can I call up Adnan and say, hey, how are you doing? Just want to make sure everything's okay. You were mentioning before you were having these issues. How is that going for you? Is there anything we can do?
Yeah, absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Or there should be an organization based in one of the Western countries that specifically works on the well-being of du'at. Nothing else. Okay, if Zionists can do it, if Christian missionaries can do
Exactly.
it, if Qadianis
So why
can
are
do
we
it,
not
if
doing
the
it?
Shias can do it, what the hell is wrong with us?
We're not doing it.
We are
That's the problem.
We have the numbers, we have the money, we have the means. we have everything, but we simply cannot get.
So what's the
ourselves-
barrier? What do you think is the barrier for that?
The
lack
problem
of-
is the Muslim community does not want to support this. That's the problem. They're not supporting this project.
because they don't know the problems.
That's why
They-
we have
yeah,
to talk about
yes.
it. Exactly.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because when we look at others, okay,
They have
are doing
think
these programs.
tanks, They have
yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're sitting
Yeah.
here. We're so many Muslims.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything.
yeah. So it is important.
I think part of that is because you don't see the immediate result.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you put on a conference, you're going to see immediate result. Or you put
Yeah.
on a video, you get the immediate
Yeah.
result.
Yeah.
This is something that's like growing roots underground, maybe for
This is working
years
for the
and
long
years
term, yeah.
before it's going to grow out of the ground. You know what I mean? The root system will be unseen for years
Yeah.
and years, right?
Most
If
of
you're
these people,
public
they
leaders-
just want to click on a video. They just want to say, "Oh, Adnan put out a new video." Click. They watch it. They don't care. They don't see any
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the other stuff going on. They don't want to know about it. Even if they hear about it and watch this video, they're still gonna just click on the
No,
next
so-
Adnan Rashid video and that's it. They don't care.
So, sometimes, Jake, you put up links to, for example, support this work because it costs money. This production,
yeah,
putting
exactly.
out content every single
know,
day,
yeah.
okay, it costs money.
I
Right?
know.
Okay, and most du'at are not able to afford this stuff,
Exactly,
right?
I know.
But when you put up a link, can you support this work? Okay, you will see 1 million views on a video.
Yeah.
1 million views.
Yes.
And you will not get 2 people coming
Yeah,
forward.
just
to,
a couple people, less than 1%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, this
So
is
how
the
do you
problem.
explain this?
Yeah, yeah.
Being as a former Christian, right, and knowing the Jewish community, the Christian community, atheist community, honestly, from my, and this is, just my own personal experience, I don't see this problem in any other community except the Muslim community to that degree.
Because Muslims
Why?
they are the targets of shaitan. Other communities.
So what specifically are you saying that you don't see what exact problem?
I see an extreme lack of support
Yeah.
from the Muslim community. In fact, to the point
Agreed.
that they think, some of them, to the extent that they think this is haram. No, we should not be giving.
No,
this
they
person-
expect you to be a wali of Allah who lives on water and dry bread. Okay, you just wear 2 pieces of cloth. You live an ascetic life, and if you ask for a clean hotel, let's say, for example, if you ask for something, a basic need, let's say, yeah. So what the hell is wrong with you? You're supposed to be an ascetic. You're supposed to sleep on the floor. Huh? Look at the Prophet. Look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He slept on palm leaves, and he had marks on his back.
I wouldn't say that's a consistent
This
standard
is
of practice because I see
in the Indian subcontinent
No,
community.
yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's specifically there, but
They want you to die.
But-
They
but
want
here-
you to live on drips. They
yeah.
want you to live on drips. Only enough water in your system so that you live.
So for all the years we've dealt with you, have we treated you good?
No, it's got nothing to do with what's
No,
happening.
no.
here.
But what I'm
This
saying,
is the problem.
I think North American
I believe one of the
culture is-
best. I'm going to
Yeah.
do this testimony. One of the best people we have dealt with, alhamdulillah, one of the best organizations when it comes to hospitality has been, mashallah, tabarakallah, NYM Inc. in Canada. This is my 4th year coming to Canada. Okay, and it's a very tough schedule.
Very.
As you all know,
Yeah. Yes.
it's cold and there are
This
flights
year
and-
was a little bit easier,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah.
the only reason, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us sincere, okay? But one of the reasons, one of the incentives, one of the things that drives is the love and the compassion and the support that is here. So, and this is why it's a successful project. This is why it's consistently happening.
And I want to give also a testimonial to our speakers here, why we keep calling the same speakers back, because even though they need to take care of a lot of personal financial means and anything, they're not motivated by that. They're not 100%, alhamdulillah. Actually, the amount of support that they try to bring to us so that we can afford things has been above and beyond. So I have to give absolute direct testimony, because when our speakers or anybody is asking for support, people automatically think people want to get rich from the Dawah. I can firsthand testimony, and I can say that they contribute more to the Dawah. I can tell you, especially with these projects, they don't come with dollar signs in their eyes, for sure, right? And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this from everyone.
direct basis and couldn't have dealt with more classy
Jazakumullah.
But I think in North America, there is a culture of, taking care of, your speakers.
North America is much better.
Yeah.
Much better than
there is a
the
different
UK.
culture. Yeah.
I don't know about Australia.
There is a different culture, but what I've seen, this is, because, I've been dealing with bringing speakers since 1999.
Yeah.
Okay, so for like 25 plus years,
Yeah.
I've dealt with them. And when we first started bringing speakers, there was no idea, like there was not an awareness, okay, we got to negotiate an honorarium or the concept of an honorarium. And some of these du'at and speakers, they would go around worldwide, UK, teaching courses, translating books, giving lectures, and it wasn't very expensive to bring them, right? There was a shift in that culture in early 2000s, 2004, 2005, 2006, and it started becoming more commercialized. They started developing, minimum amounts for honorariums and so forth. Okay, I felt a part of that was due to a reaction because we weren't valuing many of these speakers and understanding the hardships that they have to deal with in their lives and so forth.
So they went to the other extreme.
So then, and then they became like this evangelical model where you got to make money.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make as much
Lot of money.
And by the way,
Buy
if
a
you
private
value
jet.
knowledge, you should pay the max money. If you value this deen. So it became very transactional that if you were truly valuing something and then it became internalized in a lot of these speakers that, oh yeah, I'm actually serving the deen by charging more. Because the more I charge, that means the more love I'm developing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're paying, 10,000, that means you love Allah more, right? So it became that, and so it became to the opposite.
It became a business.
It became a business.
Yeah.
It became a business. And I could see where that came from because a lot of times speakers were disrespected. They were actually legit disrespected. They weren't given proper rights and, akhlaq and adab that we should give to our speakers. And so now what that ended up doing is that it started alienating a lot of our youth. And it gave them the concept that Dawah is a business. A significant amount of youth actually developed this idea that I can just do this full time and I can make money from this, right? So they became trained to that certain degree. I think what we need to do in terms of the self-correction is we have to appreciate that any of our speakers, any brother, they have rights upon us. And we should try to treat them in the best way.
Yes.
Honestly, if the budget allows for it, why shouldn't I fly you business class if I can afford that? If I can give you that comfort.
It's because Adnan's gonna sleep through business class.
Right.
It's a waste.
Honestly,
It's a waste. You put me in a business class or you put me
Yeah.
in the economy class.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping.
But what I'm saying is that why not? If we can afford it,
Yeah.
why shouldn't we try to treat
Yeah,
our speakers, our brothers, our each other with the utmost respect and whatever comfort that we can give them, right? And then we should then also create that culture. Is we shouldn't do dawah or our duties for the deen based on transactional factors. That unless I get this amount and these accommodations, then I will do it. Unless or I won't do it.
Absolutely.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So we have to create that culture of balance between the two.
Unfortunately, a lot of these so-called, Muslim organizations or Muslims, let's say, when they invite a Qawwali artist or a singer from Pakistan or India,
Or this other guy, I saw his videos from UK. He can heal people with like
Chuf
these
chuf.
beads. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
yeah, chuf chuf.
That guy's concerts are crazy.
That guy is
man.
crazy,
yeah,
man.
Yeah. And they will put people like that.
He's like doing
And,
Beyonce numbers.
Yeah. So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
We really need to talk a lot about this, as Jake said.
A lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
yeah.
need to talk a lot about this so that people realize all of
Farid needs to start talking
it's
Yeah.
a problem.
because I know he disagrees with some things.
No, there's nothing I disagree about. I think that there's a major issue, not with just chuf chuf, but the people that are attracted to chuf chuf and that have accepted his call. And I don't know what the issue is. I don't know how to fix the issue, but we
It's
need
cultural. It's culture. And you cannot get through to those people. They
No.
simply won't listen, unfortunately.
Yeah, but what I mean is we've had conversations about money and Dawah and those related things. That's why I wanted you to.
Oh yeah,
Because-
if you don't mind me disagreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he disagrees with us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
First you do the dawah, then you do the money, then you get the power.
So
Right? That's how it works.
No, but let him. Hold on, let him give his position. He knows what I'm referring
I
to.
want to know what he.
Yeah.
is.
So I wasn't gonna say anything, but
Yeah.
yani, since Jake
Go
was
on.
kind enough to pitch.
I'm listening.
Well, okay.
Do you think I was gonna let you go, Akhi, without saying
Not
anything?
me. So the way I see it is, at the end of the day, the du'at, their primary goal, or excuse me, their only goal should be pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
yes.
And their own salvation. And I believe that receiving any monetary gain gets in the way of that. Because now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks that person on the Day of Judgment, why did you do this specific thing? That person would say, Ya Rabbi, I did it for you. And then the answer may be, nah, you actually did it
for this one.
Yeah. So that's like
So
the-
you're talking about. Now let's just clarify. Are you talking about it from like a halal haram perspective about
No.
taking money? No, you're not.
No,
so
it's not
so we
halal
can,
haram.
because sometimes people conflate that.
Yeah.
So you're
Well, you're
talking
talking about the
more
niyyah.
about.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, the
talking
niyyah.
more
Yeah,
about
so-
preserving
Yeah.
the like purifying and preserving
Yeah.
the
But
reward in
but
the
he's-
akhirah.
I think it's more though because he still doesn't think it should be done.
Like, what do you mean? Like, but he's saying, but
He doesn't support du'at receiving money.
He doesn't support dua receiving money, but he's
Not a
not
fan of the
making a
idea.
ruling or saying that the ruling is haram.
So I have
No,
a
but what I'm saying
question.
is
I have a question. If there's a full-time
he doesn't support it. I've had many private conversations.
How's he gonna live?
This is my point. This is why. Hold
No,
on.
you're gonna make him a beggar.
it shouldn't be. It should be a full-time job.
No, no.
You should have other means. In
Okay,
order
so
to-
here we go.
Let's,
Hold on.
let's-
Okay.
Now, for example, I work with an organization without mentioning it.
We know who it is. Name
No,
and
no.
shame.
No,
No, no, no.
we don't have.
This is not shameful. But I'm,
I know. I'm
it's
kidding.
actually a virtue.
I
about
know.
it.
I'm kidding.
They hire du'at, and they pay them full-time fee,
Yes.
salary, support,
He
donation.
thinks this is
Call it
wrong.
what you like. Call
he
it what you
thinks
like.
this is wrong.
No, absolutely. Because I'll tell you why.
You
Because
don't need
if
to tell me. Turn to him.
because he, practically speaking, you cannot.
I agree with you.
You cannot have the numbers this organization has
Yeah.
to do
Unless you
dawah,
have du'at
to do-
working
to-
full time.
Yeah, because they are working full time as
Exactly.
teachers.
I know this.
They are doing dawah, and the money they're receiving is they're not getting rich by it. By the way,
Yes.
they are only getting a bag of flour,
Exactly.
oil, and sugar
I
in their
know.
house.
I
Okay,
know.
so there is a balance in this. There is getting rich from dawah,
Yeah.
and making
We're not
into a
talking
business,
private jets.
and there is getting your
We're not talking
yeah,
about exploitation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No, but I'm saying you have two extremes. You have the person who, as you said, is trying to manipulate and saying, I'm not coming to NYM Inc. in this conference unless you give me $20,000,
yeah.
right? Then you have people on the other side, like Farid, respectfully, who's saying, no, you should not be receiving anything, no money, nothing whatsoever, $0. I think, with all due respect, they're both equally wrong.
equally.
Yes.
Yeah. So next time, Farid,
Equally wrong.
you're gonna put him in a
And-
shack, in a wooden shack somewhere. Okay, you're gonna put him on the bus.
No.
To
He's
travel
not
between
allowed to go on
Vancouver and
any
Saskatoon
planes.
and Regina.
Only
Yeah,
buses.
You're gonna make sure he only lives on water and dry bread.
Give me
Okay?
that. Give me that. Get it out of your mouth.
No, but here's the point. This is the point I was making to you.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because Farid is my good friend, inshallah. So I'm just being very honest. And we've had many private discussions about this. One of the major problems is the Muslim community does not understand this. Therefore, they're not giving the proper support. On the other hand, we have du'at like Farid and other people
making
like
it worse.
who making it even worse by agreeing and reinforcing their narrative
Yes.
that these people should not be supporting
Yes.
us.
So I think we should.
This is a big
we should have
problem. So
now
when we
that
leave
have him
here,
I think we should.
this might be
have-
the last podcast that you see Farid responds,
Yeah.
and you know what happened to him.
Yeah. Absolutely. If guys,
No,
if,
but this, honestly,
if you find someone,
You know what how I process this? How I process this? When I hear something like this from for Farid, it reminds me. It's like it balances me. Is that I should be doing more for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Yeah,
and
but
then
the
but then when I truly look at the condition of my brothers,
Yeah.
and I look at it from their perspective, and I want the dawah to operate at a high level, I have like a fantasy that we have like a business that can just fully take care of their expenses.
Yeah.
So we can get as many full-time du'at who are not worried about these types of other issues.
Yeah, that's a
And this is
Do you
where I would
understand what I'm
like
saying?
to bring in Brother Waji. As a beautiful brother from Calgary, we had this conversation yesterday. That what's our business model? You look at Aga Khan, I don't know what is it called, Aga Khan Trust. They
The
they
10%
have
thing?
hospitals, they have hotels around the world. Some of the best hotels and some of the best hospitals are owned by Aga Khan Trust, and they use this money for whatever, for the well-being of their community. Likewise, the Qadianis, okay, no credit due to them, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Khilafat. I'm not talking about the people. Okay,
Yeah.
I make a distinction between the establishment, the Khilafat, so-called Khilafat, and the people. The masses are victims, and they are lost brothers and sisters. We have nothing but compassion and mercy for them, right? So the establishment has a business model that facilitates their murabbis, their education, and their well-being. And I mean, we have studied them somewhat, okay, and we have seen the only reason they have still lasted for 100 years, okay, is because they organized themselves financially, okay, and they gave education to some of their youngsters. They made them murabbis and made them missionaries, okay. This is the only reason they keep manipulating the people. They keep them coming to their markaz, and they keep them in that little circle, okay.
Yeah.
And they're using their financial.
And you think we should be doing
experience.
this?
That's the point. We the Muslims, for some reason, have completely ignored and neglected this. Waji and
No,
myself,
you know
we had
why
this
it is.
conversation. And we were talking about how can we move forward with dawah in particular. Okay, with dawah, how can we promote dawah globally, international dawah to non-Muslims or in the Western world without having a business plan? We can't.
Yeah.
We cannot sustain organizations. We cannot sustain growth. We cannot grow. Look at Christian missionary organizations.
Exactly.
One of the small ones, Campus Crusade for Christ, okay, it's a small organization. And their budget is 600 million. I think it's probably $1 billion now. I'm giving you the figure for the from last 10 years ago or something like that. Okay. Their budget is probably $1 billion. There is not a dawah organization on the
Not
planet.
even close. Not even close.
Even close.
Yeah.
Okay, not even
Yes,
close.
but Adnan,
Yeah.
why is that? Why is it? Because I'm telling you, it's
Yeah.
very simple.
Yeah.
Because Farid is not alone. There are many, many Muslims who think exactly like him.
Can I respond
This
now?
is
It's
the
been a while.
mentality.
Farid
It's been a while
responds.
since I've been
Farid responds.
given a
This is
chance
the
to speak.
mentality that needs to be stomped out.
I'm just letting them. I'm just letting them air it out. But I think I need to. So, one of the reasons why I feel this way is because I was a part of an organization like several years ago, and one day I came to realize the finances that was going into that organization, and it was a lot of money, right? And they had different departments, and it was something really organized, and they had a staff, and they had this yearly amount coming in, and يعني I swear I've seen more barakah and more benefit from like a ragtag group of independent young shabab online that were doing better than that organization that had that huge chunk of money.
Yeah,
But
that
what
you
you're
can't-
describing,
can't be used
but
as a
if you
principle.
understand
It's an issue
business,
with management.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is at a
Can't be used
this is
as a
actually
general principle.
This is actually common with any company to scale. So as a company grows, or say as an organization grows, it becomes less and less efficient, right? So then you increase administrative red tape and the functionality. So it becomes a huge amount of source just to sustain the behemoth, right? So what you're talking about is actually something that any organization will face in terms of efficiency, right? So then the model becomes, how do we perhaps decentralize and manage things in a way that doesn't actually consume so much into the administrative end of things. Because this is what happens with big charities. Sometimes you get charities that are like hundreds of billions of dollars, and it becomes like 90% of it is just sustaining the organization itself.
yeah.
So actually that's more of a phenomenon of how these organizations are governed. You know what I mean?
And is this common?
Pardon?
And is
this
this common?
This is in any organization. So
Right.
then the organizations that actually are able to continue to grow, because what ends up happening is an organization will plateau.
Yeah.
Right? And it'll just become now preserving the existence of that organization.
Yeah.
But there are organizations that have broken that mold when they become self-aware.
Right.
So how do we now, as the conditions are changing, how do we now attain that success, those gains, the efficiency of the early stages of this organization while still maintaining our gains? So that becomes now, the evaluation process. And certain businesses and organizations have been able to go through that self-reflective process and have been able to survive like that, right? But this is a phenomenon with any organization as it grows. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me raise a point, and this is something I've mentioned to Farid as well, right?
Yeah.
Accepting money or how can you say compensation for dawah or doing dawah work, it's not necessarily for the work, it's for the time that you're putting in. If
Yes.
you're doing it full time, how can you expect to do this full time unless, alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed you with some type of passive income?
Yes.
You cannot do this full time and take care of yourself and your family. Same thing, and the analogy that's been used, right, is imams in the mosque.
Yes.
We have a nice one right here. He's not on camera. Oh, he should come over here. But how could this imam work there,
Yeah.
be there, available for the community, and doing the prayers 5 times a day and everything? Wait, hold on a second. I thought it's supposed to be only for the sake of Allah. So he shouldn't be getting paid. The Quran teacher in the masjid, he shouldn't be getting paid. The professors, right, at the Islamic universities who are teaching Aqidah and Fiqh and all of these different sciences, they shouldn't be getting paid? Of course, most of them are getting paid. So what's the difference?
There's actually a hadith about that like condemns getting paid for teaching the Quran.
Teaching what?
Actually,
The Quran.
No, actually, there's a hadith.
It's the opposite. There's a hadith that says that it's a good
says
thing.
It's okay.
You should you should look
Sahaba
up.
took money for reading the Quran.
Al-Albani
The
has-
Prophet said the best.
Al-Albani has gone through like these reports in detail and argued for the strength of the ones that condemned receiving payment for teaching the Quran.
So we are not.
I don't
in
agree with that
agreement
at all.
That there are hadiths
It-
on both sides.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And one set of scholars takes the view that it is perfect. In fact, it's a virtue to take
Yes.
money for teaching the Quran.
Says
Not
it's
that
the
you
best
make it a
wage that you
business.
can receive
Right.
is for teaching
Yeah,
Quran.
yeah, that's a hadith.
So notwithstanding this point,
Yeah.
I remember asking one of my shuyukh, who was an imam, so how does one navigate this? Like imam, you're getting paid. How do you then preserve your intention? How do you preserve that you're doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He said that whatever you're getting compensated with should not be the restriction, but of the amount of da'wah or what you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for example, if I'm getting paid and I said, okay, my shift is from like 9 to 5, and somebody shows up in my office at 5:30 p.m., am I going to see them or not? He said, if you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, notwithstanding your personal responsibilities or whatnot, he says, I should still do that. I should do it if I'm doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. All I should look at this is that, as Jake mentioned, it's freeing up my time, but it shouldn't be a restrictive factor. That I'm, okay, what if somebody can't pay me to teach Quran? Am I not going to teach them Quran? There are people that we invite, and they have a certain condition. You pay me $10,000.
Yeah, that's totally different.
And I will not come unless you pay me $10,000.
Yeah.
And I won't come unless you have this many people in the audience.
No, this is
and I won't come if I don't get these considerations and so forth and so forth.
Yeah, this is wrong.
Right?
This is wrong.
And if you put those conditions, then of course,
This is big problem.
yeah, we're
Yeah, it's a business.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Then you're trying to get rich by dawah. And
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
people
that's,
like
that's
that.
totally different.
So
There
to be fair to Jake did mention like something a while ago. He made this argument to me several months ago, maybe a year ago. It was several months ago. He said that instead of, and this could be a good thing, and I do agree, those that create content online shouldn't be monetized, but should be receiving some sort of like fixed salary.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
That
yeah.
would be better.
Yes.
That would be better. I wouldn't say it's the best thing, but it would be better than relying on monetization or whatever, because monetization means more views, and that's where the money comes from, and that is the danger.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
There's also the danger of manipulating your content to serve the algorithm.
Exactly.
Yes.
So this is the point I want to make.
Yeah.
What Farid, I understand, like in a perfect world, right? If you have a passive income and you're rich, you're a millionaire, should you be accepting any funds for Dawah? No, you should not, in my opinion. But if you cannot and you're doing this full time, I don't see any issue with it. Furthermore, Farid makes a valid point. Of course, there's always going to be a concern about your intention when you're receiving any funds. However, I think a lot of times the opposite happens, that because the du'at are not actually receiving any support or very limited, they actually are more likely, because they rely on the monetization, to be doing things for clicks and views and flashing, etc. Whereas if they had an actual set salary, hey, listen, buddy, we're going to give you, I don't know, $40,000 a year. I'm just making up a number. And this is your salary, and you're not going to get any more or any less depending on how many videos or how many views you get and all of this kind of stuff. I actually think it would make that person more sincere than them going rogue on their own, doing whatever they want, and actually relying on getting a lot of views.
And by the way, Farid, what your opinion? Myself and the brothers, we actually practice this. So I'm actually giving a pushback on something that I don't even do, because I just look at it from the perspective of others. You know, myself and the brothers, we hustle 24/7 with our private careers so we can fund the Dawah. So we actually pay into the Dawah. We make zero money, and all our social media, none of it is monetized. Zero is monetized, right? And we just pour into. So in terms of actual practice, because that was my niyyah from the beginning.
But you guys do accept donations, right? And
we accept donations, but I don't get a salary. Like I teach classes, all these different things. So for the organization, yes, to fund things, yes. But I will never say in a million years, because I want brothers like Jake, I want brothers like you, I want brothers like Adnan to be able to full-time focus on this, because I know when you want to build something that is strong and professional, you can't do it as a side hustle.
Exactly.
You need people who are full-time, laser focused. I don't want Jake to worry about any other personal costs. I want him just to worry about this. Right?
Especially when the kuffar have all of their organizations, they're doing it full time. They have Zionist think tanks, and the Christians have their missionary works where Adnan was talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. What do we have? We have barely anything to show for it. Nothing, right? And the du'at, you think they're making money? Some of them are living in, counselor estates, right? And very poor conditions.
One thing, Sheikh. I heard about schools raising millions of dollars. Millions.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay, crazy, ridiculous amount of money. Okay, but these social media du'at are probably doing more for these young kids than all of these schools.
Well, they're definitely influencing them more, because our school system. When my criticism of the school system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, school is doing the basic job to keep them informed on the basic stuff, Quran, and this is the Prophet, and this is the Seerah, this is mathematics and science and English. We understand that. But when that kid becomes a teenager, when he is exposed to this society, all the challenges that come with it, right? Where do they go? They go on social media. That's the first thing they're exposed to. And if there is a strong presence of du'at, these du'at are probably the reason why some of these youngsters don't end up leaving Islam.
To be fair, Sheikh, is that they are getting a positive influence.
Yeah.
But I would say social media in general, whether it's good content or bad content, is having a reverse tarbiyah effect.
Yeah.
Because the himma, the inner strength, the ability to sacrifice and to put in long hours and whether it's money or time
Studying.
to be focused, to be able to not be distracted. I've seen that wane in the ability of youth.
Yeah, due to social.
Do you understand? So you'll see people who are super active online, and then you're like, Akhi, can you make this sacrifice or put this amount of time for this period?
Yeah,
They don't have the ability.
yeah.
They don't have the ability. And I remember back in the days when we would sit in halaqat for hours. For hours, man, just sitting, writing, not even typing, writing with our hands. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or traveling on our own dime, just to learn and then to get some knowledge. You know, just to be able to go for Fajr.
Yeah.
Our father had to drive us 45 minutes to the masjid. So we would drive for 45 minutes, go to the masjid, 45 minutes back, and then go to school. You understand what I'm saying?
Crazy.
Yeah.
And like, so what we have to appreciate is that, yes, we are getting this, but we need to create that culture of tarbiyah.
Yeah, but
You know what I
also, Doc, at this point, and that's, I know you're not saying it from a hypocritical standpoint at all. We're doing this podcast for that reason because we're kind of beyond the point where we can't really control that. Like, we have to sort of play the game.
No,
so
I
to
agree.
speak,
I agreed. Yeah, I agree.
and try to do it. And we're not perfect, but try to do it in what we feel is the best way possible to put ourselves in social media and try to influence people in a positive way, either directly through the videos or trying to direct their attention and say, okay, you may have benefited from this video, but please check out this organization or go to your local
Connect them to
masjid
connect them to real life. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what else can we do? Because if we just completely stay out of the game in general, I
Yes.
just don't think this is going to work
No,
either.
no, no, no.
You know what I mean?
I 110% agree with you that there has
Sort
to
of a
be
necessary thing
Yeah,
at this point.
we have to be show that online present.
Yeah.
But and frankly speaking, if we wasn't this online opportunity, we may not have linked up.
No.
Right. So it's
No.
because of this. I think. Did we? How did we connect? Was it first in-person podcast or online podcast? I believe.
No, it was in person. In person, yeah.
Okay, so it was in person, but we discovered you. We only knew about you online.
Yeah,
yeah.
we wouldn't know.
Yeah, exactly,
many
right? And
people
so,
are-
and many of the brothers we connected with first online, and then
Developed a
we developed
relationship
and then our philosophy has always been in real life, dawah. So then let's let's do something in person, et cetera, right?
And the reason why we're doing this podcast is so that it goes out and people hear
Yes.
what we have to say, right?
Exactly,
If this-
exactly.
If we weren't using this medium, how would we even reach out to people? So our presence is a must.
Yes.
It's a non-negotiable. We have to be present.
We're discovering, or we're talking about, we're thinking and strategizing, how do we
Navigate.
safeguard ourselves from the liabilities within social media?
Yes.
And how do we maybe change the culture for the people who consume this content? Maybe give them messaging that they
Yeah.
haven't heard before,
Yeah.
right?
I think
Yeah.
social media is mainly for catching the attention.
Yes.
Okay, giving sound bites. Okay, anecdotal stuff.
Yeah.
Social media is not designed for long halakat and long sittings with scholars and ilm. For ilm, there is a different path. So it can serve, potentially, it can serve as a bridge between the people
Yes.
and the ulama.
Yes.
Okay, because ulama mostly are not on social media.
Yeah.
Some of the
They don't have
biggest
time for
scholars
this
of
stuff.
Islam,
Yeah.
they don't have time for this stuff. They are from a different generation. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 20 years because we might get those ulama who are very active on social media, or we don't know what the next 20 years future equivalent to social media. It might be something crazy. We don't know. Something else might come out.
Yeah.
Okay, with AI and all these things.
Yes.
Right? So we need to train our future generations to be able to cope with this stuff. Okay, we need to remain traditional. We need to stick to our tradition. We need to respect our sources. At the same time, find ways to navigate through these new discoveries and challenges and requirements. So I think we really need to start talking. And everything starts in the mind. every idea, every great idea is born in the mind, and then it is talked about, and then it translates into action. So the more I believe we will talk about these challenges and these opportunities, and the better we will get at navigating through them.
And a nasiha I would have, a sincere nasiha I have for everyone is don't be so quick emotionally reactive. Like, just take some time to digest. People respond, whether it's likes, whether it's replies, whether it's getting enraged, so fast, so quickly, or you don't even listen to what a person is saying. So when Farid is speaking, I'm trying to really listen to what he's saying.
I'm not.
And trying to listen to his perspective. If Jake is saying something, and guess what? Sometimes it takes time for you to just think about it. What did these people say? What are they really trying to say? And you just let it think about it and you digest. Because then you'll never be able to...
It takes a while for...
you won't be able to process.
No, I've
things.
talked about this thing with him many times privately. That's why I'm kind of kidding.
Yes.
But see, the other thing is Farid, right? He said earlier when you asked him about halal or haram, right? He said no, but then, and this is part of the confusion, when we started talking about the narrations and the ahadith, he's referencing ahadith that he thinks do actually prohibit these things.
Yes.
So that gives
that's a specific thing about teaching Quran.
No, but he was
exactly.
trying to,
So that's what I'm saying. So it gives the impression that now he believes that is haram to accept payment for your time of teaching Quran.
But you know what?
It's not necessary.
I don't think he would ever say, "Hey, everyone, I'm promoting this, this fatwa as like this is. There's no doubt about it and whatnot.
No,
because these are things above our pay grade. You know what I mean? Like some of this issues of like what's halal and haram, or making like a strong statement on a certain position.
Honestly, I have not seen many shuyukh actually saying that it's haram to be compensated for dawah.
Yes,
Or time doing dawah.
Or time, not dawah.
Time,
Dawah
and what I mean is the time that you're doing to put in the effort for dawah. I have seen very few shuyukh actually given fatwa saying that this is haram.
There is a level. There's a line to be drawn. There is, for example, the Quran, Surah Yasin, when Allah Subhanahu wa Taala mentions those prophets, ittabi'ul mursaleen. Yes, it says follow the mursaleen. Why? One of the reasons is they do not ask you for ajr. Okay, so the moment your dawah becomes for reward in this world, it becomes a problematic issue. So I see where Farid is coming from, to be fair, So this balance between seeking ajr for your dawah, okay, and being paid for your time so that you can take care of your family, it's a very thin line, and it has to be clearly drawn.
What about dawah for Bugattis?
I would like to add on to that. Like specifically, now I'm going to be speaking about critics of Islam or Islamophobes that are making serious money. There's one of them, he's making $10,000 a month from Patreon. If he gets corrected, if he gets checked by a Muslim, if he gets humiliated by a Muslim for a blatant misrepresentation of a hadith, or for relying on a forgery, or for he himself just like slipping up in terms of his understanding of Christianity, he ain't gonna say, hey guys, I messed up, or retract, because he's getting paid. He doesn't want to look bad. He is hoping that no one sees it, because that directly influences the cash flow. So this is just a reality, and may Allah forbid this happens to Muslims. I see it happening to non-Muslims that are critiquing Islam. Why won't it happen to a Muslim who's also financially benefiting?
For any Muslim, we should always fly on those wings of fear and hope. And we know there's ayat in the Quran that says the only one who thinks he's saved from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that's destroyed, right? You know what I mean? You should always have that sense, not get too comfortable, hey, I'm doing this sincere and no one can question. No, you should always reevaluate whether even if you're not getting paid. A person who's not getting paid can also be insincere. right? They could be doing, I'm so great, look at
It's not only about money. Could be about fame.
Exactly, right? Or getting that recognition.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Exactly. And so that's not necessarily the only determinant factor.
It's not
So
only about money, yeah.
Whether a person is getting money or they're not getting money, we should always make muhasabah on ourselves.
Yes.
Make this test
course,
on ourselves.
100%.
Am I doing this for the right reasons?
Yeah.
And then there are things that we are taught in the Deen through the Quran and the Sunnah and some of the advices of the Salaf that if you feel okay, maybe what I'm doing could be corrupt. Maybe I need to increase in my private things that people don't see.
Yeah.
Increase in
Private ibadah.
private ibadah.
Yes.
Or you know what? I get a lot of time in it, or I get a lot of
private
recognition.
good deeds, private sadaqah, private.
Imagine I get a lot of recognition for my videos that everybody sees.
Yeah.
Why don't I take a class with kids? I teach kids. Nobody sees this.
Yes.
No recognition.
100%.
And there's a lot of
Yes.
But the
I
problem-
was
You know what I
about
mean?
to mention this
You know what I mean?
earlier that
So you
you
do-
don't know how much you get reward for your public deeds.
Problem is
You
a
don't-
lot of du'ats
Yeah.
are doing the exact opposite.
Hmm.
They don't want to make videos on certain topics because they know if they do,
Yes.
they're not going to get a lot of views.
Mm.
In fact, they're going to lose a following even if they know and believe that the message is correct and they think that this is what people should hear.
Mm.
They don't want to make the video. They don't want to talk about it because they're going to get less following, they're going to get less fame, etc.
Mm.
I know because they've told me this directly.
Yeah.
Told me
Yeah.
this directly.
Yeah. They won't get. It's so for them, for each hour of effort, they want to get the ones that will get the most.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to mention somebody's name because he just said it on my channel a couple days ago, right? So Muhammad Hijab, I asked him this question about algorithm prostitute stuff, right? And, have you slipped up? Have you fallen into this? And prior to it, I was speaking to Dr. Omar, and I said, I think he's going to give what I feel is a sincere answer. And people can go and look at it. So, I'm not saying anything. He said it openly on the live. He said, yes, of course, I've done this many times. That it is part of something I struggle with because I am seeking validation from the public, from the audience. I want them to like me and like what I have to say. And then he even went further and said that part of that reason that he believes he's done his own psychoanalysis, right, on himself is because he didn't have a father figure around when he was young, right? His parents, I don't know, something, whatever happened to his father. This is what he said on the
Yes.
stream, right?
Subhanallah.
And so because of that, he's seeking that validation from the public, right? And I'm not saying this to condemn him or anything like that.
No, this is a-
I'm
this
just
is-
saying he said this on the stream in response to my question. So there are
So it's
people.
public. We're not
Yeah,
discussing
exactly.
it's private. But I completely appreciate that.
Yeah.
And this is a very.
I told him, I
very-
said, you're being honest.
We are very thankful to him. Wallahi,
Exactly.
for even putting this out, pouring
Yeah.
his heart.
Yeah, that's a personal.
Yeah, it's a personal detail.
Personal admission.
Yeah. And,
Exactly.
And I think it's a real thing.
Yeah.
That look how mashallah tabarakallah Allah has given him acceptance. He is very popular. Okay, no one is perfect. We all know he has made mistakes, right? But look at the acceptance Allah has given him. Okay, someone like him, mashallah, he has this thing in his mind. Okay, so this shows us that du'at are not the stones or the iron men we think they are. They
Yeah,
are
we all
human
have our own
beings.
struggles,
They
yeah.
are, yeah, we have struggles. We have challenges. We on daily basis we fight things mentally speaking. We fight challenges. So Muslim community needs to realize, and Muslim community needs to wake up and start taking care of the du'at as a systematic project, not something random here and there, this person, that person.
Yeah.
There has to be an organization that specifically deals with this problem. I can give you one example. There is an organization in Africa, Sheikh Bilal Ismail Al-Kawthar,
Okay.
mashallah tabarakallah, he runs this program called IDP, Imam Development Program. Under this program, he doesn't do wonders for the imams. He doesn't buy them villas with swimming pools. No. African imams who struggle financially severely, he just takes care of them. Basically, he has incentives for them. That if you do this course, you will get this, you will get that. He gives them laptops sometimes, gives them some extra perks, or maybe on Qurbani Eid or something. I don't know the details, to be honest with you. Yeah, if you check out IDP, this is a project he came up with, mashallah, tabarakallah, Allah bless him, because he saw a real problem. That if you don't take care of these guys, these imams in Africa, Islam is going down in the areas. Islam is going down. But you stand one of these guys up, you support him, you help him, and he feels confident that someone's got my back, he's going to fight for you. He's going to stand up for the deen, right?
Yeah.
This is a serious problem, and it's a global issue. Enough is enough. The Muslim community around the world has to wake up. Okay, we buy hotels and we buy jewelries, and we are inviting these DJs and
Belly dancers.
Qawwali and belly dancers. Wallahi, seriously, on our weddings, you see a Turkish, Pakistani or Indian wedding, you will see people throwing money like this. Like this. You, come on, man. And we are struggling to raise funds, for Dawah, to save our children.
Yeah.
Allahu Akbar. What's wrong with this ummah?
Yeah, that's true.
So that money you're throwing on some dancer, right? Okay, just bring that money to the Muslims.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wallahi, again, I want to just express my feelings. I was recently in a family wedding, okay, and I had to leave. I didn't care about, alhamdulillah, I just left because I saw things that I could not tolerate, okay, and I could see they spent a lot of money. And I was completely blown away that this money could be used for something much more noble. Okay? Allahu Akbar. Muslims, and this is a very kind of middle class kind of wedding, But
There's actually studies that show the more expensive the wedding is, the more likely there are
it's going to fail.
Yeah, it's going to fail.
6 months down the
Wow.
line.
Yeah.
The guy turns out to be a gay, or the woman, the girl's on drugs or something
Wait,
like
there's
that.
a specific story behind this.
The girl's a belly dancer
But-
on the weekends.
But one of the most barakah-filled weddings, I spoke about this earlier in the week, that we witnessed, is that we had a Dawah booth, and a brother came to the Dawah booth with his girlfriend. And he said that I want to come back to the deen. She wants to become Muslim. So she wants to give her shahada. But the only thing that's restricting us from getting married is because we can't afford the wedding. So we said, listen, we have a dinner fundraiser at the end of the week. And why don't we just combine it with a walima for you guys? So she can come, give her shahada, we can have a proper nikah, and you can invite people, as you can tell wedding guests to come. So subhanallah, the end of the week comes, we have the hall, he comes, she gives her shahada at the beginning, we have a fundraiser for the organization, and then one of her guests that came as a wedding person to attend the wedding says, I want to give my shahada. And this person accepts Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
And it was so simple. It was just combined with a fundraising dinner. So some of the most simplest things that we overcomplicate.
Long lasting.
There's barakah. There's a positive benefit. There's an effect. And we don't, I believe, invest our money in those things that can give us the most success in this life and the next.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
And this is, by the way, this throwing money on weddings and spending money on drones and DJs.
Drones?
And
What kind of?
Yeah, drones. These filming drones. There are 5 drones landing. The bride and the groom are walking in. And
Man, what kind of
it's
way?
like a Bollywood or Hollywood scene, Two souls are coming together, and they are spending money like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I was thinking something dangerous when you said drones.
No. It's not finished. And then
What's the next, like AI breakdancing robots and stuff?
They hire these vehicles. In Pakistan, I was there. That in wedding seasons, these big Jeeps, Toyota Jeeps like Land Cruisers and Prados, they all get hired out just because these guys are going to get the girl from the family. Okay, so we call it Barat. Okay, in Pakistan, in India, in the Indian Pakistani culture, they call it Barat. Barat is basically when the groom goes to the girl's house to bring the woman back to his house. So they take 100 vehicles. All you need is one Jeep. Put the girl in it with the guy and send them home. 100 vehicles, and they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars
Wow.
on this stuff, right? Okay.
Oh, boy.
This is khasara dunya wal akhirah wa dhalika khusranun mubin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, this is the loss of this life because you're losing money. You're losing all that money. You're blowing it. It's the loss of this world and the hereafter. And this is the worst. This is the worst loss. Where you lose both. You lose your dunya and you lose your akhirah. How is that wise? How is that even intelligent? And this is happening in the Muslim world. Okay? So our weddings, if I can guarantee you, my brothers, if we were to collect that money which is spent on weddings in one city of Pakistan, I'm not talking about Karachi, not talking about Lahore, I'm not talking about, let's say Islamabad or Rawalpindi, one of these two cities. We collect every year the money they blow on weddings. I believe we can fund global dawah for the next 10 years.
Subhanallah.
For the next 10 years.
Subhanallah.
We'll end up with, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars in one city, one season.
So how do we get people to value dawah over self-indulgence?
Education,
We have to
realization,
talk about these things.
and warning them that this is what you're doing is you are making Allah angry. You are doing haram on your weddings.
So you're taking away the blessing from that marriage.
What is marriage in Islam for Muslims? What is marriage? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "An-nikahu min sunnati." That makes it ibadah. Sunnah is ibadah. So you are committing an act of ibadah by dancing. Imagine standing on the musalla praying salah, and you start doing bhangra, or you start doing belly dancing, or you start doing, and this is your salah, this is your ibadah, and then someone comes and throws money on you, and you say Allahu Akbar. Yeah, this is what you're doing, right? Astaghfirullah. Okay, I'm just giving an example.
Crazy.
It's marriage, nikah is an act of ibadah. So what they do is now, they're very clever. When the imam is doing the nikah, he's reading the khutbah and dua, they turn off the music. They turn off the music. As soon as the dua is done, yallah, go, everything, party is on. What the? It's an act of ibadah, and you're doing it. You're throwing it back at Allah. A'udhu billah. You're insulting an act of ibadah. You're insulting the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're insulting Islam. You're insulting your identity. I'm a Muslim. We're going to do nikah Islamically. Okay? And then we're going to do haram on top of it. We're going to contaminate it with extreme haram. Music, free mixing, waste of money. In some cases, wine and alcohol being sold. Okay? And then...
In Muslim country.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So this is the level of misguidance and destruction we are facing. So we need to talk more about this so that people get this sense. Okay, I think ulama, unfortunately, even in a country like Pakistan, haven't really spoken about this strongly enough. They need to really push on people that what you're doing is absolutely haram and you're making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala angry with you. You know, this is ghadab of Allah. You know, that you're invoking the ghadab of Allah. So this is a very serious matter. And plus that money is being wasted. It's going down the haram lane, you know. So
And even just in one day, it's gone.
one day
Boom.
blown, $1 million blown. And they're advertising it. The crazy thing is they are actually celebrating. They're putting up, yes.
Thank you. I just want to give an example. Maybe some folks that are watching this video may choose to decrease the amount of money they spend on their weddings because of this. I've heard of so this is like an actual wedding that occurred in Paris. Okay, it was a Bahraini couple that had...
Figures.
Say what?
Figures.
Yeah, so they had their wedding in Paris. This is ages ago, I don't know, like 70s or 80s. I don't know, it's a long time ago. And you may be thinking, okay, so they had their wedding in Paris? They flew out all the guests from home. Yeah, and God knows how many guests. It would be hundreds of guests. They flew them all out.
To Paris?
To Paris.
Wow.
And they had this lavish wedding and spent so much on the food and the band and everything, right? And the bride, after the wedding, she cried for a year. And she was like, it was the worst day of my life. Why? Well, it's because, the pastries weren't, and the song wasn't, and, it wasn't perfect.
Wow.
So, something to keep in mind before wasting any insane amounts of money.
As Dr. Syed was saying that there's not going to be barakah. You're not going to be happy with a wedding like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna collapse. Either the kids, they're gonna when you get kids from these kind of weddings, you might see it in them. You might see it in the marriage is unsuccessful. The couple, they're not happy together. What's the point of blowing so much money?
And I think nowadays what's happening, because everything is so materialized, many people are even avoiding getting married.
Yeah.
Because
they can't meet these expectations.
You can't meet these expectations. And, when you get married, you're also risking, if this thing ends, I'm going to lose more money. So in the wedding, I'm going to lose money. And you're just looking at it from a money lens.
And then they wind up engaging in haram because
in
they're
Saudi
not married.
Arabia, in Saudi Arabia, young men cannot get married because they have to raise an X amount of money.
Yeah.
So that they can go and give mahar to, and in countries like Pakistan and India, it's the opposite. The girl's family has to raise a certain amount of money before they can actually find a suitable match.
Yeah,
because they are
reverse
expecting
meher in that culture.
Yeah,
the guy
so the girl gives dowry to the man.
Yeah.
In Pakistan,
how does that happen though?
that happens. It's
Islam
from Hindu.
says
It's from Hindu
exact
culture.
opposite.
It's from Hindu culture,
It's from Hindu
and Muslims
culture.
are doing it in
Muslims do
Pakistan.
it.
Haram, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's haram, but if you're the guy,
In some cases, the girl, she gets taunted for the rest of her life because she didn't bring a freezer with her. She didn't bring a sofa with her. She didn't bring a car with her. Wallahi, I'm not joking. This is not an exaggeration. This is the kind of situation we're facing. So,
But nobody says, look, in Islam, this is not how it's supposed to be. They don't care.
No, people are saying this. They don't care. People are not listening. Self-infliction, self-destruction, self-infliction.
So one of the issues with paying exorbitant amount as mahar or for the wedding, especially if the man is paying, obviously, whenever the woman does the smallest issue, he's thinking she's the one I spent this much on.
Yes.
So this extra weight causes animosity, causes there to be a
Tension.
little tension.
Yeah, why did I
grudge,
waste my
perhaps.
money on this person?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
SubhanAllah.
when there's less money spent, I believe there's more barakah in the marriage.
Of course.
Yeah, and there's more appreciation, and Allah forbid, it's easier to part ways if you're not compatible sometimes.
Definitely more appreciation.
Yeah.
For example, she accepted me even though I just paid her this much as a mahar, as opposed to the other women market price. For example, as mahar.
Absolutely.
100%.
and subhanallah, what I think sets us up for failure is because of this family and cultural push, like the influence, the pressure.
Yeah.
From that.
Log kya kahenge?
Yeah, exactly.
What will people say? What will people say?
And
I
think what we
this
do,
is the reason why they do all these things.
I think, again, when you said self-infliction, we don't appreciate that at the end of the day, we're going to actually harm this future couple. We're going to harm our families. And we don't appreciate that just by following whatever the normalized trends are, that you're not setting them up for a long-term success,
Yeah.
And when we look at the societal problems that are happening now within the Muslim community, in the Muslim world, there are so many, you can accumulate, the different problems that are coming up.
Absolutely.
But when you do that first step, there's a problem. That first step, there's a burden, or you're not getting the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it makes the next step much more difficult.
Yeah.
The third step more difficult.
Yeah.
The fourth step more difficult. And, when I feel I'm very fortunate because there was zero demands.
Yeah.
I was a student and I was getting married. There was literally zero demands for that, but it made that process so much more easier. But you appreciate everyone more. You appreciate your wife more. You appreciate your in-laws more.
Exactly.
You appreciate everything more.
People who made
actually.
things easy for you, yes.
Because it's very easy to put it on, like your worth is associated to monetary things.
Yeah.
So you don't care about this person unless you spend a lot. So you equate value to money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes transactionary, like
Yeah.
you said. Same
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
oh, it has to be this amount of money, or else you don't really care. You know? what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We were talking previously, I think just the two of us, we were talking about some of the effect that some of these Zionist groups and lobbies have on many of these governments, especially Western governments, and the effect that's happening on Muslims.
Yeah.
So we spoke about the Islamophobia industry has been funded for many years by Zionists.
100%.
Okay,
It's not a secret anymore.
if you look at many of the Islamophobes, they're being funded by Zionists,
Directly.
right? They're being directly funded, and they're willing. Even atheists,
Yeah.
they will criticize every religion, especially Islam.
Yeah.
Okay, but they won't criticize, of
Judaism.
course, Judaism, right?
Or Christianity that much, yeah.
And when you peel back the curtain, you see how organized they are with funding. They're highly funded. They're highly organized. We've had experience with them in Canada. They're calling Douglas Murray.
Yeah.
They're getting him to
Tommy Robinson.
Yeah, speak in this monk debates or having these gatherings
Yeah.
and events with
Yeah.
politicians.
They're trying to form
right?
public opinion.
They're
or
trying-
manipulate it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
manipulate, propaganda, all
Yes.
this kind of stuff. Yeah.
So now, how are we going to deconstruct what they're doing and push back?
First thing is to study them.
Okay.
Okay, I was watching this interaction between Piers Morgan and Tucker. Chris Tucker, his name is this big guy from a channel.
No, it's like Carlson Tucker.
Carlson. Sorry,
Tucker Carlson. Chris Tucker's the
Sorry, not
Chris
Chris Tucker.
Tucker's a comedian.
Carlson Tucker. Is it Carlson Tucker?
Tucker
Yeah?
Carlson.
Yeah, Tucker.
Tucker
That's
Carlson.
disrespect to Chris
Carlson.
Tucker, man.
This guy Carlson and
Chris
Piers
Tucker
Morgan
from,
are
Rush
having a
Hour.
conversation.
Yeah.
These are two major journalists.
yes.
Okay, known in the world internationally,
Yeah.
in the English-speaking world. And this conversation is so interesting. I came across it on Twitter.
Okay.
Someone posted this clip.
And it's in Saudi
Chris
Arabia,
Morgan is
Yeah.
trying to ask Tucker whether he thinks the U.S. giving aid to Israel is a good idea. And this guy is struggling to give a straight answer. For like 3-4 minutes, he's struggling to get a straight answer. And then he turns it around on Piers Morgan. What do you think? And he starts, you can see he gets nervous, not talk. So you start to think, you're left with no choice but to think, what do the Israelis have on these guys? What do they have against them? Is it money they have given them? Is it blackmailing? Like maybe they were on Epstein Island, some of them, and they have
Got videos on
or
them.
they have their names on the list. Or is it fear of losing job, or being marginalized, or losing your privileges, or your comfort? What is it? And same goes to Western politicians. Okay, Gaza happens. Thousands of children are being buried alive. This is the first time in human history when this happened, to my knowledge, to this magnitude,
Yes.
whereby thousands of children are being buried alive. And I was talking to a Zionist in London, Speaker's Corner. He said, how can you make that claim? What about the Pharaoh? What about all these previous examples? And I said, no. This is the first time in human history when so many human beings can see what is happening and nothing is being done to stop it. That thousands of children are being buried alive. He goes, what do you mean by buried alive? I said, you fire a rocket into the base of the building and there are like 1,000 children with their mothers in the building. The building comes crumbling on top of them. They get buried alive.
Yeah.
And they're being pulled from the rubble in pieces.
Yeah.
So this is the first time in human history. It's a phenomenon. And none of the Western politicians have the courage or the morality to speak up. None of them. None. Ireland has been an exception. Irish politicians had been an exception. Okay? And gratitude to them. Likewise, South Africa, due to its unique history, they came up and they opposed, because South Africans know that Israel was directly behind or facilitating the apartheid. South African apartheid. Okay, so these are exceptions. But what has happened to all these people around the world? They're not making statements. And imagine there was a Sikh activist killed in Canada. And Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, he ran marathons condemning India, warning India, threatening India with action. One guy gets killed in Canada, and there is a diplomatic clash between two countries, two of the most powerful countries in the world. Okay? India is a very powerful country. It's an upcoming economy. Canada is a very powerful, influential country in the world. And there is a diplomatic, stalemate between the two countries because of one killing. We have 50,000 children buried alive.
I would add to this, I think this is the first time in human history with this level of killing and chaos where you have the army openly reveling.
Celebrating.
In something. Because usually, even if you
and
are...
we have it caught on video of them doing these things.
Yeah. So usually...
They're taunting. They're mocking the word.
Usually you try to have some type of moral undertone.
Putting on the women's lingerie and
yes.
stuff like this.
Exactly.
Yes.
Disgusting.
And playing with toys of children they have killed.
Especially in modern history, any war you try to justify with some type of moral impetus. There is we're fighting for the greater good. We're trying to repel a greater evil. But when you show the way that you even conduct yourself, the way you dance on the graves of people, the way that you mock and you humiliate them, and you have no sense of any compassion of human life or worth or mercy in your hearts.
And to make matters worse, they call themselves what? The most moral army in the world. Can you imagine that?
Audacity.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Imagine the audacity. Imagine a drug dealer. Imagine a person who leads a drug cartel, let's say, in one of the Latin American countries. And he comes out and he says, I am the most peaceful person in the world. Let's say Pablo Escobar. Okay? Although he's been glorified and heroized lately by some movies and programs. But he was a criminal. He was a criminal. Okay? In spite of his charity and charitable work he did. Okay? He was selling drugs, cocaine, and making hundreds of millions. Imagine him trying to say that I'm the only hope for the world. I'm the most civilized person in the world. I'm the greatest moral model for the world. This is what the Israelis are doing.
Exactly.
They are committing some of the worst crimes in human history. I think Hitler's crime, as bad, as evil as his crimes were, his crimes, okay, the Zionists have outshined Hitler. They have outdone Hitler by killing so many innocent people in such a short span of time and telling the world,
absolute impunity.
Sorry? Absolute impunity, and they are taunting the world. Do what you can. Do what you can.
But
you can't do nothing.
That's what I want to see is how are they able to have this spell?
Yeah.
How are they able to exercise this type of control and put this world, the world under this spell? One thing that we were discussing briefly, and I would like to see what our other guests think about this. I believe one of the weapons that they use to be able to, because generally speaking, the masses, the human being, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, has a sense of morality, has a certain, humanistic values. I believe one of the ways that they're able to keep the masses at bay is to cause conflict, division within people with some identity politics, stoking sectarian issues.
Xenophobia.
You understand what I'm saying? So try to put people to manipulate people's differences.
Yeah, all of this debate about immigration, absolutely, you're right.
You know what I mean? So
all of this debate about immigration in the West is completely instigated by the Zionists, because when we see the people who are speaking this divisive language, who are dividing people along communal, ethnic, religious lines, if not all of them, most of them are directly linked to the Zionists or the State of Israel. Douglas Murray is an example. The guy was on the ground justifying the genocide
Yeah.
Just and speaking to the Western audience, because Israel, the state of Israel, were rattled. The Israelis were rattled, the establishment, because they knew now they're gonna go and kill so many people. They need to justify this somehow. So they bought these prostitutes in the Western world to speak for them, to do their dirty job, to put up some sort of justification. People like Jordan Peterson, okay, people like Douglas Murray, people like many journalists,
Tommy Robinson.
many politicians. Tommy Robinson has no credibility. They have tried to buy people in all on all levels of society, on all social levels, so that they can deal with every single category. But it's not working, alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. For the first time, Western audience, people in the West have realized enough is enough. Okay, this cannot make sense. This will go down bad in history. This will go down. This will go down with Atlantic slave trade. This will go down with colonialism. This will go down with all the genocides of the native people around the world committed by colonial establishments. This crime will be listed with those crimes, and all Western nations and their leaders will be indicted. And this slogan of democracy, justice, peace, freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, it means nothing now. It's all empty. These are all lies, okay? Because all these leaders trying to be the champions of human rights and justice and democracy in the world, they have shown by their silence and their tacit endorsement, in some cases active endorsement, of these crimes in Gaza. This is not going to be taken lightly. This is going to go down in history for long.
Inshallah.
This is going to be remembered, and this is why the Zionists are terrified of the Muslims living in the West. That's why they are pumping so much Islamophobia. That's why they are hiring shills, prostitutes like Douglas Murray and Tommy Robinson, and even Nigel Farage and people like that in the UK. Here in Canada, they're trying to disturb the peace in Canada. It's a peaceful country. It's a beautiful country. People are living in harmony. They are bringing these shills from the UK, paying for their flights, putting them in hotels, and they're trying to cause division in Canada, in a beautiful, peaceful country like Canada. Okay? So this is a real threat to the global peace. These people, this bunch of people, very rich, very powerful, very, very dangerous. Okay? Because they hold such important positions. So
What do you think?
So
how are we, being manipulated by some of these Zionist efforts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
And do you think Elon Musk is part of the same ilk?
Oh, yeah, definitely. If people see the trajectory of Elon Musk, right? He started off being somewhat maybe anti-Zionist, or at the very least was not pro-Zionist.
Yeah.
And
it
then
seemed he had like a nativist, America first type of rhetoric,
and then slowly, he's become manipulated. I think he's completely bought and sold out to the Zionists. Why? Because they started removing their advertisements from X, from his website. And at first, he did a public interview so angry about this. And who do they think they are? They think they can buy me type of thing. And then like a couple weeks later or a month goes by, and he just switches the light switch completely switched off, right? And he becomes, with this pro-Zionist rhetoric, he visits, so-called Israel. He's spending time with the Zionists there. And he comes back from the trip, and he's totally different. Now, all of a sudden, he has this pro-Zionist agenda and this anti-Muslim rhetoric and this Islamophobic rhetoric, and attacking and talking about the migrants in these Western countries. He's really been blasting.
He caused a lot of
grooming
problems.
gangs that have happened.
The grooming gang thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He stoked that, right? The grooming. Elon Musk stoked all that grooming gang.
Elon Musk, again, it's a mystery as to what he is. Another case like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson just flipped, completely switched sides, or completely went berserks, as they say, right? Speaking like a zombie. Someone you put them in a room with smoke, and they smoke something and they start hallucinating and they start speaking language people don't understand. This is the condition. This guy at one point was trying to say that the reason why Hamas cannot be defeated, Elon Musk is on record saying this, because you keep killing them, and the more you kill them, the more they will recruit along these lines. Everyone knows about that statement,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah.
From there, all the way to the other side of the fence, okay, saying that Muslims are the problem in the UK. Literally, retweeting, tweeting, people like Tommy Robinson. Can you believe? Tommy Robinson is
Calling
a
for
convicted...
Tommy Robinson's release from prison, all these things.
Yes,
Getting on his knees for them
convicted
guys.
criminal,
Yeah.
known criminal, fraudster. Okay, he was on drugs. He abused drugs. Okay, and also he was arrested in Canada. He's now in jail. He's a convicted criminal, and Musk, ignoring all the legal system of the UK, of Britain, okay, ignoring the judgment of the judges, he's saying he's innocent. On what basis? There was a trial in the court, he was convicted, right? So this guy seems to have lost the plot. He has completely switched sides, and he is now promoting Israeli Zionist propaganda, tweeting, retweeting, tweeting, retweeting.
And you know what's amazing about
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
He's supposed to be the richest man in the world, right? But even he was somehow manipulated by the Zionists. You see that?
Yeah.
People would think-
blackmailed,
Exactly.
manipulated, bullied. I can imagine they probably told him, "You're gonna lose all your money. We have the banks. We have the banks. You're gonna lose all the money."
Said,
Yeah.
all of our companies that advertise on your platform, we're going to retract all of it. They threatened him with this.
Yeah. So he probably saw bankruptcy coming his way. Probably saw his entire space project and Tesla and everything.
So one of the things I've seen him do is he's put out messaging that all these immigrants that are coming into your country, they're changing the fabric of your society for the worse. And additionally, not only are they changing your fabric of your society for the worse, but they're going to replace you. So this is what he's saying,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But what's interesting to note, he brought all of that rhetoric up after there was an internal conflict within the MAGA movement, because he was promoting the HB1 visa,
Yeah.
right? That whole
Yeah.
thing that we need to give an exception because all immigrants are bad except for the ones that we get from India for the HB1 visa to run
And
our
I
tech
think
companies.
he himself came on that visa.
Yeah. I think he did himself, but it's essentially a form of indentured slavery because the person is dependent on you. You can revoke that; they won't get the citizenship. You can give them less, wages and so forth. Yeah. So what he did is he started leading into this grooming gang thing, and he tried to
All fake news.
He tried to unite
Yeah.
all of these nationalists
Yeah.
back because they were pushing back against him.
Yeah.
Him and this Vivek Ramaswamy guy, right?
Yeah.
So they were actually criticizing him
Yeah.
as saying that, hey, you're not a true nationalist.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring traditional white Americans
Yes.
back and revive them and so forth. But what people don't appreciate is that he is going to be at the forefront of the true great replacement. Because all these jobs that you have, whether you're white Americans or you're colored Americans or you're immigrants, the vast majority, the threat of the great replacement is AI.
Exactly.
Your job
and
is
he's
going to
the
be
one who is instigating it.
He is the forefront of that. Here, these billionaires that you look up as your heroes,
Ironic.
they are within their agenda.
Yeah.
For example, the biggest employer for men, for you could say white middle-aged men in the United States, it's transportation. So truck driving, all of these different things like transportation.
Yes.
His whole agenda is to replace you with automated, self-driving trucks and
Exactly.
robots.
So that's the replacement.
So, but at the same time, he's trying to show you he's the hero.
Oh.
I'm the hero. I'm trying to fight for you. I'm against all these immigrants. But he is actually the one at the end of the day, statistically speaking, all the studies show that your job is going to be replaced by AI and robots.
Exactly. Exactly.
And people don't see this.
Yeah, and no one knows what's actually driving him.
And I want a side point. Maybe you can maybe do some commentary on this. Is that the Islamic perspective on this could be completely different? With, for example, with all this AI stuff.
Yeah.
Because the Ottoman Empire, one of the things that I found out recently, is that they resisted the printing press
because they didn't want industry to die.
They didn't want all these scribes to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
They
were doing such a good job in producing books.
Yes.
Okay. And they knew that the books they need are being produced by these scribes, and they are enough. So they didn't need the printing. The Europeans did it for a different reason, by the way. The Europeans wanted freedom from the church.
Okay.
They wanted to take away monopoly of book production from the church. So that's why printing press in Europe caused mass burnings.
Really?
Burning.
Wow.
Yes, people got burnt at stake for publishing books.
Wow.
Because with printing press came a certain level of freedom which the church didn't want to facilitate. And because of that, many people published books against Christian doctrines or the church doctrines or the Catholic Church for that matter, and they got burnt at stake. One such example is Michael Servetus, burnt at stake in 1553 in Geneva with his books. They piled up his books and they lighted the books and they burnt him alive.
Wow.
He was a scholar par excellence and he wrote a book against the Trinity, and that's what got him burnt. That's what got him burnt. So printing press was invented in Europe for different reasons than it was in the Islamic lands. Okay, the Ottomans simply didn't need it. Okay, and it had nothing to do with scientific progress as such, because the Ottomans were still on par with the European powers technologically as late as the 18th century. It was only in the 19th century when the balance was tilted, especially after the Industrial Revolution, when things changed and the Ottomans were left behind.
So to just kind of loop back, because, say, like Musk has now started to toe the Zionist line, should Muslims still engage on X, his platform? Should we still do that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a tool to communicate with people, okay? And if they start to block Muslims and Muslim content, okay, then of course we need to find alternative platforms.
Because he says freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. That's like his talking point.
And
you were gonna say something, Farid.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to know how to play the game, right? So they made the rules of the game. They're still allowing us to play.
Okay.
And
it's stacked against us, though. We gotta be.
it's fine, though.
Yeah.
It's fine. We're able to get information out, and we're able to fight the propaganda they've been putting out. Alhamdulillah. This is like one of the things that I appreciate that Elon Musk did, despite his specific agenda. He did give Muslims a platform in which they are able to share some information that they wouldn't be able to on other platforms. So, I mean, I don't have the blue check mark. I'm not going to be paying $6 a month. However, I'm appreciative that I'm able to fight the Zionist propaganda on X.
How do you think is the best way to do that when the deck is stacked against us on X?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like Farid said. I mean, our only choice is to not participate in the game at all, which I don't think is the right way. I think you have to try to put yourself in the system, right? And the game that unfortunately he has set up. Learn what it is. Like Farid actually mentioned this to me, which I didn't even know. I think yesterday or a couple days ago.
You might not want to use that information, by the way.
Why?
It's for your own good.
Why
Because you may not want to help others with the. This is like a cheat code for the game.
Okay, I won't say what it is.
Okay.
But
can I get the cheat code later?
Yeah.
we'll tell you later. There's a certain aspect of sharing information on X that remember what you said about limiting reach, right?
Yeah.
So he's admitted he has no problem limiting certain people's reach.
Yeah.
There's one specific way where he does this, which Farid shared that with me. And if you know that, you can do something to avoid that. Right?
Okay.
You can put out the post differently in order to potentially reach more people.
Okay.
And by
Okay.
the way, about the game being stacked up against us, that's without a doubt. However, the people, the masses, including non-Muslims, are so thirsty for the truth
Yes.
that people have been able to actually grift into pro-Palestine, and they've been able to build a following through that.
That's true. That's true.
Folks like Jackson Hinkle,
Yeah.
that weird physician from Madri in Switzerland or whatever,
Yeah.
Suleiman Ahmed, you know,
Yeah.
folks have been able to grift into it. So
Nasty characters as well.
Yes.
They can't see any crime committed in Syria. They can't see any
Yeah, that's
crime
true.
committed in Syria.
Yeah.
For some reason, they're crying for Palestine. They cry tears of blood for Palestine, and I call it pretense. They're pretending.
I think the Syria was a good litmus test to see where all the fakers.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Gaza was and Syria was. Gaza has shown in the world today who's truly human.
Yes.
Who's truly human. Gaza has shown in the world today.
Who's a jinn and who's human?
Yeah, exactly. Who's a zombie and who's a human being, right?
Yeah.
And likewise, Syria has been a good test of people's consistency of people's moral values,
Yeah.
right? Those people who cry for Palestinians because they are oppressed, they're being killed, they've been decimated, and for some reason they cannot see what happened in Syria. And when you put the numbers to them, the evidence to them, you know what do they say? Cope with it. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Get over it, they say.
Get over it.
Get over
yes.
it.
Wow.
Cope with it. Get over it.
Yeah.
It's done.
Or
There's nothing we can do
they'll
about it.
belittle it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're
It's
making fake
axis-
numbers.
It's the axis of resistance,
Yeah.
and they are fighting the good fight. So whatever comes,
It's the axis
Even
of
some
constipation. Seriously, like,
Yeah.
what have they really done?
what have they done?
They didn't produce-
Fireworks, fireworks. They're telling, oh, look what Iran did.
Yeah.
Well, Iran ended up killing a Palestinian
Yeah.
by those fireworks. The only
Yeah.
person who died in that attack.
Only one person
right?
died.
Yeah,
and
and that
it
was
a
a Palestinian. So
Yeah.
this is all a sham. Iran
To
is
be
simply
fair,
using
would you
Iran.
put Yemen with this as well? But
Yes, Yemen is Iran.
Okay.
Sorry to say this. Yeah, Houthis are Iran.
Okay.
Houthis they are non-existent without Iranian support. Okay, so Yemen is Iran. Iraq is Iran.
We're in a
Syria
Yemeni
was
coffee
Iran,
shop.
but
I just want to.
but
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, it's no longer Iran. So the point is now, Iran is simply using the Palestine card to deceive the Muslim world, and they are going on this land grabbing enterprise, and Syria messed it up.
yeah.
Syria messed it up for them. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Now Syria broke that crescent they had created around the Middle East. Okay. So the Khalijis, the Arabs, are sandwiched between Israel and Iran. Hostile powers on both sides. Iran is visibly, openly hostile to the Arabs. Okay. And so are the Israelis. So Iran's power.
So you
has-
don't think we can work with Iran?
Absolutely not. We cannot trust Iran. Every opportunity Iranians got, they harmed the global Muslim interest. They have nothing in it except their own personal gain. They want to spread Shiaism in the world. They want to take territory. They want to force Muslims to become Shia, okay, like they tried to do in Syria, like they have already done in Iraq. They wiped out the Sunnis from Baghdad. Okay, there was a time when there were death squads going around in Baghdad, killing Sunnis, okay, wiping them out, causing them to leave. Syria became that. Unfortunately, the people of Syria took the land back.
Do you think people have hope in the axis of resistance because they're unaware of the history and the reality on the ground in that region?
Yeah, most people are simply not aware of the context. They're not aware of.
Because you have a lot of keyboard
history of-
analysts like looking at it and it's like,
Yeah, they
oh,
think
we
you're
need
just a
Ir-
bigot.
Yeah.
You don't understand geopolitics.
Yeah.
You
Sectarian.
just don't know. You're just a sectarian bigot. You just hate the Shia because of that. No, we don't. We don't hate the Shia.
Yeah.
We believe the Shia people are a victim of Shiaism and the establishment. Okay, the Axis. Okay, the Axis.
You know,
So-
I went to study Deen in Lebanon in the 90s. And I always share people because it's a direct testimony I can give you of the historical context of what I witnessed in that area. They used to have huge billboards with Hafez al-Assad, so the father of Bashar al-Assad, on there. And I asked once one of the students, I said, who is this guy? And they're like, oh, this is the president of Syria. I'm like, aren't we in Lebanon?
Yeah.
Why do you have a huge billboard of the president of Syria here? He says, no, he runs Lebanon. And I said, this old guy? And I swear to you, you could see the fear in his eyes. Don't say anything. They have spies everywhere, and you will get disappeared. I witnessed the fear of a president that they don't.
Yeah,
even,
Lebanon is free after 50 years.
Supposedly runs that country, and they said, "Do not say anything. Someone will report you."
This happened to me.
and you're going to be disappeared.
I was in Syria.
I witnessed the fear, man. I witnessed the fear in Lebanon.
Yeah.
Of his
This
father.
happened to me, Dr.
Yeah.
Syed. I was in Syria, in Latakia, out of all
Yeah.
cities. There was a Palestinian camp there. And I was with two Palestinian brothers in a taxi. So there was a car in front of us. And, you know, on the back screen, the back windscreen, they used to have these posters with the pictures of Mahir al-Assad and Bashar al-Assad. And then there was an Arabic statement saying, "Hakaza tandurul usud." This is what lions look like. So I just naturally, you know, my natural sense of humor bursted out, and I read that, and I said, "Hakaza tandurul qurud." Okay, this is what monkeys look like, right? And the taxi driver went serious.
Yeah.
Those two Palestinian brothers, as if they have seen a ghost.
Yes.
They went like, and when we left the taxi, you know what they said to me, both of them? They said, "You have a British passport. You're going to fly out, and we're going to get picked up." Because, you know, half of these taxi drivers are either spies or they're Alawis, and they're going to go in and talk about us, or they're going to go and, you know, inform the authorities, and we'll just. So I said, "Sorry guys, I didn't know this is how bad it is here. I really truly apologize." Alhamdulillah, both of them are fine. I communicated with them afterwards. They were both fine. So the point is, this was the level of fear.
You know, one of my close friends, he was an imam. Like his father was an imam in Calgary. Back in Lebanon, he was a qadi, and actually he had dealings with Hassan al-Nasrallah when he was in Lebanon. He said very openly, the Ahl Sunnah has been shot in the back many times by Hezbollah. He says we cannot trust them because they have slaughtered our brothers and sisters. He said it very openly. He said from his own first-hand experience.
What is the problem in stating our differences openly?
Yeah.
Shiaism a different religion. It's not the Sunni religion. Their sources are different. It's a different religion, right? It's a parallel religion to Islam. Shia people are welcome to do what they want, okay? And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging differences and living in harmony, okay? But when one of the two groups tries to, you know, force their religion upon the other group, okay, by hook or by crook, this has to be stopped, okay? I don't think Sunnis should do it.
Can we avoid? So, for example, maybe we can't be best friends. You know what I mean? And on this, but can we avoid?
We will never be friends.
Yeah.
No, sorry. This is not because we hate.
No. But I'm saying now within a political, because this is the question arises: can we at least not be enemies so that we
or
can
not harm
deal
each other?
with greater threats?
Yeah.
Can we at least come to that?
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with having treaties, having agreements that, guys, lakum dinukum waliya deen. Okay?
Yeah.
You keep your deen, we keep our deen. No problem. I'm being very clear and blunt. I know people don't like to say these things.
Yeah.
They are scared of these things. I don't know why they are scared, but this is the reality. All Ahl Sunnah scholars, they believe this. They don't believe Shia to be a religion within or a group within Islam. No, they don't. Okay? They believe it's a new religion. It's a parallel religion because the sources are different. Their understanding of the Quran is completely different. Their understanding of Sunnah is very different to ours. Okay, yes, we pray similarly. Yes, we do Umrah and Hajj similarly. Okay, but our beliefs, the people we admire, for example, are the most hated people in Shia religion. The people we believe to be the best people to walk the planet after Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
Okay, and that includes the Sahaba and the Ahlul Bayt.
Yeah.
But they simply narrow down Ahlul Bayt, and even the Ahlul Bayt, they pick very few people and they say these are the only ones, and the rest are all a bunch of hypocrites and liars and kuffar. And for this reason, we cannot possibly believe in the same religion. We're not.
I wouldn't say that, yes, Sheikh. I wouldn't say that they denounce the rest of Ahlul Bayt. There are some members of Ahlul Bayt that they dislike, but
they denounce the children of Hassan. The children of Hassan,
there's
those who do not accept the imama, the 12-ver imama concept, to them, the children of Hassan are kuffar.
So there's a lot of them they don't like, but even the ones that, for example, claim.
Sheikh, I am saying they believe the children of Hassan radiallahu an, who did not accept the 12-ver imama concept, they are kuffar, and they are Ahlul Bayt.
I'll go further.
Yeah.
There's an example of even the children of one of the imams, but one of the children of the imams claimed to be an imam falsely, according to Tashayyu'. And you have Al-Mufid in one of his works excusing him, saying that may Allah forgive him and whatnot. No, he's passed away. But he may be someone of paradise because he's from Ahlul Bayt. So he makes this excuse, and this is Al-Mufid, it's just not just like
I
random.
have evidence to the contrary, where there are statements from their ideologues or the founders of the Shia religion. Okay, they're making statements that anyone who does not believe in the imams of the Ja'fari line, they are not Muslims, they are kuffar. And this includes the children of Hassan. This is why the line of imama, got diverted from Hussein onwards. The children of Hassan were completely sidelined, not acknowledged, not remembered. You ask any Shia on the planet, learned Shia, I'm not talking about lay people, any learned Shia, the names of the children of Hassan from Hussein onwards, the branch that branched out from Hassan radiallahu anh, they won't know the names.
Even Hassan,
They don't
respect him the same way they do
because
with
he gave bay'ah to Muawiyah.
Yeah, exactly.
He completely dismantled this religion before it was born. I believe Hassan radiallahu an gave the strongest blow to 12-ver Shia religion by giving bay'ah to Muawiyah. When we use the word bay'ah, they always come back and deny that this was not a bay'ah. It is mentioned as bay'ah. The word bay'ah is mentioned in the Shia sources like Rijal al-Kashi, where reports state categorically that Hassan radiallahu an gave bay'ah, a pledge of allegiance to Muawiyah. So did Hussein. So did Qais bin Sa'd bin Ubadah, the general. So the details are far too long. They always come back and say, no, this was a treaty. This was a treaty, and treaty can be made with anyone. No. It was not. It was not a treaty. It was bay'ah before it was anything else. Okay. So I'm not stating an extreme position. It's a mainstream position within the Ahl Sunnah that it's a parallel religion.
Can we take
There's nothing wrong with saying that.
Can we take a break here for dhuhr and lunch, inshallah?
Inshallah.
Is everyone good with that? Okay. Break, inshallah, dhuhr lunch. Bismillah. We're good to start? All right. So we were talking about the Zionist agenda, previously. So I think we'll just get back into that, kind of conclude some of those ideas and thoughts. So we said that we should still maybe engage on X. There's some cheat codes we're gonna get from Ustad Farid later on of how to get through some of the algorithms that are stacked up against us. And I think in general I think the theme of this podcast is actually muhasaba, because we're making evaluation on ourselves and our fellow brothers and sisters as a movement for the purposes of khair.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because you asked earlier, why are we talking about these other things about Tate? It's about muhasaba on ourselves.
Yes.
Inshallah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I would say it would be a greater victory for him to make tawbah and come to the deen.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
That was the greatest victory, is you come back to the deen.
Yes.
Right? So now dealing with a clear opponent, a clear enemy with the Zionists, and we see them being very active in Canada, to the effect where they're courting politicians, they're manipulating media, they have certain media outlets that they completely control. They're trying to cause this identitarian politics within Canada. How can we as Muslims now get not only oppose them, so push back against this Zionist fitna, but concurrently give the message of truth, which we value so much? So what do you think some of the most effective ways that we can do that? So essentially, we want to talk about a principled approach, because as a sidebar, as an explanation of what I'm thinking in my mind, for example, we discussed earlier, people advocate for Philistine, but they're not religious, they don't have any sense of deen, or they don't have any principles or rasul of how they operate, right? But yet we believe we can advocate for Philistine, but we maintain certain principles, and we do it within an Islamic context. So we want to oppose this Zionist agenda. How do we do it in a principled way? And then perhaps with the icing on the cake and actually the essence of repelling any battle, how do we promote the haqq? So it's a big steak for everyone to chew on.
How do we promote the haqq in what sense? Like
in a principled way, and understanding within the specific context of opposing Zionism.
Yeah.
Because, for example, like people, just to oppose Zionism, they may start lambasting all Yahud.
No.
So they'll put like as if all Yahud are evil.
This is why
and there's like characteristic things built within them that's inherently evil. So they go to the extreme.
Yes.
Right? And they copy some of maybe the right-wing talking points.
In Islam, we don't do all anything. We
Yeah.
don't. Okay? We judge people by actions. Okay? Now, Zionism is an ideology that is racist and evil in itself.
Is opposing Zionism anti-Semitism?
Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with Jewish religion, although there are elements taken into Zionism from the Jewish religion, no doubt, from Judaism. But is Judaism Zionism, or is Zionism Judaism? Absolutely not. Because Zionism is
I disagree with this. I disagree.
I will come back to it. I mean, Zionism a recent product. Zionism only came up in the 19th century, okay? And you will see Orthodox Jewish rabbis, they don't believe in the Zionist ideology. They actually oppose it wholeheartedly. Yeah, there could be a minority. I understand. There might be a minority, but they are there, and they argue from scripture that Zionism is an affront to Judaism, okay? And many Zionist ideologues were atheists. They weren't even believers in God. Later on, we have seen many of them don't even believe in God, right? So Theodore Herzl.
But they say God promised them the land. So how do you not believe in God, but then just say God promised you?
They use the promise for their convenience, but they don't use they don't believe in the one who made the promise.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very ironic for Zionists to claim that God promised the land, and 70-80% of them don't even have belief in the religion. They don't believe in the religion. They don't believe Judaism is true. Okay, it's an ethnic racist ideology based in ethnicity. Okay, you can be Zionist if you are Jewish by birth. Okay, of course there are Christian Zionists. There are Muslim Zionists, unfortunately.
Yes.
Some who have sold out. They have sold their soul to the devil, right? But Zionism is a recent phenomenon. It is a product of European anti-Semitism. There was a huge wave of anti-Semitism in the 19th century, and that gave rise to this concern in the minds of many Jewish intellectuals in Europe in the 19th century. And the first Zionist conference took place in 1897 in Switzerland, where they came together and they all agreed on the idea that we need a Jewish state. An idea put down by Theodore Herzl in his book, The Jewish State, right? So it's a recent phenomenon. Did we have Zionism in the 18th century? Did we have Zionism in the 17th century? Possible. ideas, maybe some strands, maybe some how can I put it? Some ideas or some thoughts that were later on translated into Zionism. It is possible that some people may have expressed those ideas before, but this movement in itself is a recent phenomenon, it's a recent occurrence, and this movement basically drew a huge rift between Muslims and the Jewish people. Prior to this, the Jewish people and the Muslims lived in harmony for over 1,000 years.
Jake's got a reputation to all this.
Jake is looking for stuff to throw at me.
Jake's ready. Jake's ready, Sheikh.
So I'm saying,
Yes.
Jake's probably going to bring some quotes from the Talmud and some. I know this stuff.
Yeah.
But I am making a claim.
Yes.
The movement called Zionism,
Yeah.
okay, which by necessity stipulates for the followers that we need our homeland in Zion. Zion is Palestine, okay? By hook or by crook, we will take it, right? So this is a recent phenomenon. It's a secular movement. It's driven by atheists, and it has nothing to do with the religion. Religion is far bigger than this movement. I believe so, right?
Okay.
Okay, and the Jewish people, for the last 1,000 years, were under the protection of Islam. Majority of the Jewish people in the world, over 90% of the Jewish people lived under the protection of Islam in Muslim lands because they were heavily persecuted in Western territories that were predominantly Christian at the time. Christians have a history of brutality, cruelty, genocides, pogroms against the Jewish people. There's no doubt
Maybe
about
let me
that.
restructure the question, because I know Jake is going to bring up,
Jake's going to bring
he's going to bring
up a
quotes
quote from Talmud.
and very, very relevant. I'm going to say it's very relevant. I know what he's going to bring up. Can we say, okay?
Jake's going to bring a soundbite.
No. Let's do that.
I'm going to bring the haq. This is life haq.
Okay, let me rephrase the question.
Inshallah.
Let me rephrase the question. Is Judaism and Zionism politically equivalent?
But yeah, you let Adnan give the whole answer,
Yeah.
and then you give him a different.
Why don't you? Okay.
He should respond. He should respond
Yeah,
first.
you can respond, but then let's go to that maybe, because I think that might be, the more relevant question. But go ahead.
Yeah. What I think is a balanced answer or a balanced critique is that, yes, what Adnan is saying is true, that the sort of modern, we can say modern Zionist movement was definitely primarily a product of how Jews were being treated in Europe, and a lot of the so-called founding fathers of the modern Zionist movement were atheists and agnostic and not even religious. This is true. This is without dispute. However, eventually they convinced a lot of religious Jews to actually come into the fold, into their plan. The question is, why is that the case? And I argue because Zionist politics and doctrine or theology, however you want to phrase it, has its roots in Judaism itself. It's not a new idea in the sense that Theodore Herzl just came up with it and then back projected it onto earlier people. No, you have it all the way in medieval times with major figures like Nachmanides, not Maimonides, Nachmanides, right? Who actually wrote a refutation of Maimonides. I gave an entire presentation on this last year at 2 different conferences, right? So I don't want to bore the people with quotes, but this exists, right? I'll just read one quote from Rashi, who's one of the biggest commentaries on the Torah, right? This is not even Talmud. This is Rashi's commentary on the Torah. And before I get to that, everybody is familiar with the viral video where sorry to say, that big fat Jewish guy was stealing someone's land,
It's
right?
Jacob.
Right? Jacob, they call him? Okay.
Pretty sure it's Jacob.
And Jacob was taking the land from someone, and I think it was a Muslim woman who was responding and taking the video, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically said something like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you taking our land?" What was his response? "If I don't do it, someone else will. Like, no problem. There's no issue with this." So where is he getting this idea from? Is he getting it from Theodore Herzl? Is he getting it from these people? No. So Rashi says this. "So if the people of the world say to Israel, 'You are robbers because you took the lands of the 7 Canaanite nations.'" Now, for people who don't know, the Canaanite people are the people of Palestine in biblical terminology. Israel can reply to them, meaning that fat Jacob guy, he can reply, what? All the earth belongs to the Holy One, blessed be he, meaning to God. He created it and gave it to whom he pleased. When God wished, he gave it to them, meaning the Canaanites. And when God wished, he took it from them and gave it to us. In other words, this is not theft, right? The law of theft in terms of the Jewish people taking from the Canaanite people that land, that law of theft does not actually apply in that case because they believe it's their land that God has now given it to them. It's like if someone comes and they steal my car and then I find the guy and I go take the car back. Am I stealing the car? No, it's because it's my car. That's what Rashi is saying about the land of Palestine. When they're taking it, it's not robbery, it's not theft, right? So this guy, Jacob, he's not getting it from Theodore Herzl. He's getting it from these Jewish sources.
I think Rashi seems to be agreeing with the Quran here. The Quran says, وَتُعِزُّ مَن تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَن تَشَاءُ. How does the verse go? I forgot. Allah gives honor and Allah, gives disgrace. Allah gives mulk to whoever He likes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what Rashi is saying effectively.
Yeah,
this is an Islamic principle that Allah can give land to anyone He likes. Okay, and Allah confirms this in the Quran that Banu Israel was once upon a time preferred over other people. Inni faddaltukum ala al-alamin. It's in the Quran. So Rashi, specifically speaking, is not against our principles here in this specific quote, but Zionism, on the other hand, has different claims.
So I think the question needs to be: are Zionists manipulating
the Torah?
The Torah,
yes, and the commentaries,
or is it built in within Judaism to assert people's lands, for example?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah, no.
So I think there's a differentiation.
There are
because,
so many
for example, in the
problems.
Quran, you could have something that's situational and contextual.
Yeah.
So it's not a general.
Yeah.
It's not
it is
like
time bound.
Exactly.
It is time bound.
It's not
it is
Yeah, the Jews do not believe this is time bomb. Nachmanides, I could quote Nachmanides.
You're right.
Nachmanides says
Yeah.
that in every generation, it is an obligation on every single Jew, not just on the community. Every single Jew must go back to the land of Israel, to the point that he says, if you don't, you're idolatrous.
Okay, hold it there. Going back to the land of
And taking
Palestine.
it over, he says that it's actually it's warfare. It's not just passively entering and saying, hey, can I come and stay here or rent a place? No, it's not like that.
But this is where I am saying that
And
a
Nachmanides
Jewish
is an
religious
authentic
opinion.
scholar.
Yes.
So here's what I'm saying. I'm giving Jewish people the sake of doubt.
The
Just
rabbis.
like in
The
Islam,
rabbis, yeah.
we have differences of opinion. What I'm saying is, at the very least, these so-called anti-Zionist rabbis or Jews, they should be honest and say that there is a valid difference of opinion, and that some Jewish sages like Nachmanides, like Rashi, and these other people commented on these passages, and their interpretation was a very Zionist interpretation. That's why modern rabbis, they don't quote Theodore Herzl, they quote Nachmanides, the same passages that I could just read,
Yes.
and they use this to justify it. And I believe that their interpretation of Nachmanides is correct. Now, I'm not saying, because it's not my business, I'm not saying that that's therefore the correct interpretation of the Torah. That's for Jews to have their own internal dispute. But it is an interpretation that goes back to medieval times. It did not originate with Theodore Herzl or the 19th, 20th century. That's my point.
So are you saying that politically the effects of Judaism and Zionism is equivalent? Because there is historical context of Jews living in peace with Muslims.
With the Muslims for over 1,000
It's
years.
a valid interpretation to answer yes to that question.
Yes.
But other Jews may argue no, and they may have their own proofs. And I'm not going to say which one is necessarily the correct interpretation of their own religion, but those so-called religious Jews today who are Zionists, they do have their own proofs and their own evidence that go back to medieval times, to the 1100s. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're absolutely right. On the other hand, we have Jewish rabbis
Who oppose
argue
it.
to the contrary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point is, Zionists in the 19th century used the Jewish religion, as I acknowledged earlier, to their advantage, to do things that were not justified by the Torah or the Jewish rabbis and their religion. We are aware of all the controversial teachings of the Talmud, where the Jewish people are told a number of things when it comes to the Gentiles and how to treat them, how to deal with them, what to do, what not to do. All of those things are there, and Jewish people have believed in these things. The point is, Zionism as we know it, as a modern movement, as it rules the land of Palestine currently, okay, is that, strictly speaking, a doing of Judaism, or does it currently represent the Jewish religion? Okay, that's a very good question, and I don't think so, because as I mentioned earlier, that Zionism as we know it today is based upon Theodor Herzl's book, The Jewish State.
Yeah, but once the religious rabbis,
Yeah.
the so-called religious rabbis, because I'm leaving it for them to have their own internal dispute, but the so-called Orthodox rabbis today that are Zionists, they do not believe that their belief on Zionism today is a product of Theodor Herzl. I can show you the top Zionist rabbi of the 20th century, called Rabbi Cook. He quotes the exact same passage from Nachmanides.
Yes.
And hold on a second. He doesn't say that Theodor Herzl is the father of Israel and the father of Zionism. He says that Nachmanides is.
I will argue in a different way now. ISIS
Yeah.
established a caliphate. Okay?
Supposedly,
They claimed, just like Zionists claimed Judaism, ISIS claimed Islam. ISIS claimed an Islamic concept.
Correct.
Caliphate. Quoting the verses from the Quran,
Yeah.
quoting the hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. Does that justify their existence? Just because they can quote the Quran?
No.
Wait, well,
Yeah.
let me explain.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Just because they can quote the Quran and the hadith, okay, does that mean we have to take their claim seriously?
No.
Because they were again an affront to the Muslim civilization.
Yeah.
Right? They twisted the teachings of Islam.
Of course.
With the crimes. Just like that. Zionists, okay, as disturbing as some of the teachings are in the Talmud, as we have acknowledged, as disturbing as some of the commentaries of the Jewish rabbis are, okay, classical Jewish rabbis, okay, people like, Rashi,
Yeah.
and,
Any of these people, yeah, no problem.
Ben Yochai and people like that, yeah. All these people, we know about them, right? We know their teachings. But the Zionists have hijacked the Jewish religion and some parts of it, some aspects of it, to create an evil entity that is not only brutalizing the Palestinian people, but it is wreaking havoc around the world.
Yeah.
So this is my point. My point is not that Zionists cannot quote biblical passages or Jewish rabbis
I
to
think
justify their
But I'll
claims.
tell you what the
any
difference
political
is.
movement, for the record too, any political movement always needs to draw upon some type
Something,
of
some
moral
philosophy.
foundation or moral maxims
Yeah.
to give it relevance amongst the masses.
But if
Yeah.
you study
But
the
I'll-
history of modern Zionism in the 19th century, you will see that it's a product of not necessarily the Jewish religion and the right
I
of the.
agree with you. But the
yeah.
difference with your analogy is, let me ask you a question. Do you, as a Muslim, believe that there is any legitimate commentary that a member of ISIS can point to be used to support their claims? Is there
They
any?
tried.
No,
They
but,
tried
but are there?
they-
I'm asking you. I know they tried,
Like
but I'm
scholarly,
saying,
from a
do you
scholarly-
believe that
They
there's
quoted
any,
scholars in isolation.
I agree,
to claim
but do you believe any of their representations of those scholars is legitimate?
You mean application of it on the? They
The scholars that they quote, are they misrepresenting them?
not always, not always.
So then you're
No. Some scholars, their opinions are so absurd. Some scholars in the past, their opinions are so absurd that we simply can't hold them
so
today.
you agree. So then you
Let me explain now. They pick and choose opinions from a vast Islamic literature that goes back 1,200 years. There are thousands of commentaries and books written on Islamic topics, commentaries on the Quran, Hadith, and books of fiqh. So they pick opinions that suit their sadistic reading of Islam. Okay, and then they apply it across the board.
Yeah.
So they could claim, yeah, this is what the scholar is saying, and that's what we're doing. I'll give you an example. Recently, some scholars gave fatwa that if Muslims are being targeted by non-believers and they are killing your children, you can do the same to them. They gave this fatwa. There are scholars who gave this fatwa. Sah? Yeah, I do know. I know.
But is it a legitimate opinion?
It is an absolutely illegitimate opinion.
Is there precedent for it?
Let me clarify. This opinion cannot be sustained in light of the Quran and the Sunnah. We do not. In fact, it goes against explicit verses of the Quran
and
the
hadith.
hadith of
Yes,
the Prophet.
of course, 100%.
But a scholar who knows the Quran and the hadith can be misguided and can give a fatwa that is abused and used by extremist groups like ISIS. So, unfortunately, they can pick and choose shadh, strange opinions documented in medieval books of jurisprudence or fiqh and apply them.
I'm not granting that. I'm not granting that there are actual legitimate classical traditional scholars.
We're not discussing
that are having
legitimacy.
those-
We're discussing erroneous opinions found
I don't think it
in our
exists.
literature. You don't think
No,
so?
no.
You don't think this fatwa was given?
No.
You don't believe me?
No.
You don't believe some scholar gave this fatwa?
They maybe.
No, in recent past.
Yeah, no. I'm saying classical scholars.
Classical scholars similarly have opinions
I don't believe that.
were outrightly erroneous. We
I
don't agree with
believe
them.
that there are classical scholars that are respected that actually had this opinion.
I'll give you an example. Ibn Hazm, he was of the opinion that you can make tawaf clockwise.
But what does that have to do with this topic?
Because it's an erroneous opinion. It's mad, crazy.
Oh, but we're talking
Ibn
about the
Hazm said
position
about
of
Imam
ISIS.
Tirmizi is majhul. He's unknown. He was majhul to Ibn Hazm, and Imam Ibn Kathir states that
But Jake is talking about
So I'm saying-
specific issue. Yeah.
Specifically ISIS's point.
no, okay.
They do not have legitimate
You're
precedent
missing my
for their
point.
view.
I'm saying there are erroneous opinions
Yes, but not on
found
this
in the
topic.
books of Islamic classical literature, spread here and there.
But not on
People
this
can pick
topic.
on
That's
those.
what I'm trying to say.
Sorry?
But not on this topic of ISIS, of legitimizing their opinion. I don't believe that exists.
They did pick.
You'll have to
extreme-
bring it, Akhi. I'm not aware of them having a legitimate precedent for their view. On the other hand, I'm not quoting.
not saying
I'm not
they had
quoting
any legitimate-
unknown people. I'm quoting Rashi. I'm quoting Nachmanides. I'm quoting some of their. It would be like them, ISIS, quoting Ibn Kathir, and us admitting that this was actually Ibn Kathir's position. Not that they just used him and manipulated him. Us actually agreeing that Ibn Kathir's position is congruent with ISIS. Nobody says this.
No.
I'm saying that Rashi and Nachmanides' position is actually the Zionist position. That's the difference.
Not what you read. No, not there.
It is.
No, what you-
100% it is.
Actually, Rashi is in agreement with Islam.
No,
There
he's
in that
not.
very quote.
No, he's not.
God can give land to whoever he likes. This is an Islamic position. God can give the land to whoever he likes, right? And we know in the Quran that Banu Israel was once upon a time chosen people of Allah, right? So Allah chose them at the time to give them the land of Canaan. They were believers, Canaanites were disbelievers, and they were ousted by the Israelites. And then Israelites were warned that if you don't fix up, if you don't follow the prophets and not stop killing them, okay, the land will be taken from you. It will be taken from you, and it'll be given, and you will be dispersed in the land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
But this is in the Quran.
Exactly, but the Jews believe, Nachmanides and these people, they believe that that promise is still theirs to fulfill. So the debate at that point is, wait,
I'm
who
not
is the
disputing
land?
that.
Who is the land actually promised to now? The Muslims say it's us. The Jews say it's theirs. So that is a legitimate position.
I'm
that
saying
they
just
have.
like ISIS abused Islamic literature.
I'm saying it's not abuse. It's not analogous.
Okay.
It's not abuse.
That's
it
my
is
opinion.
correct. It is a legitimate position that is represented by classical Jewish scholars
To have a secular state?
that the Zionists
Wait,
are not
to have a
misrepresenting
secular
them.
state?
They are accurately representing them.
But is it a legitimate opinion within the Jewish writings from rabbis that you can have a secular state?
No, it's not supposed to be secular.
Thank you. So Zionism is by default, by its outlook, is a secular ideology.
But do you think that those rabbis want it to be a secular state?
No.
No, they don't.
No.
So they're going to
Zionists
push
are
to try to
twisting.
actually have it that way.
This is the point I'm making. You're missing my point, Jake. I'm saying just
I
like
don't think I'm
ISIS,
missing
just
anything.
like ISIS twisted Islamic literature for the evil ends, Zionists twisted.
Zionists
they
are
took
not
select-
twisting
No,
anything.
You have to let me finish.
You are twisting
You
the
have to let me
Zionists.
finish. You have to let me finish. Zionists took writings of rabbis, twisted them for their secular ends.
Okay, let me ask you. Let's move
Do
to
you agree?
something else.
Do you agree with this or not?
No, I do not agree. I do
You
not
don't think
agree.
so?
He said,
not agree.
I think his position is clear that he believes is a legitimate scholarly opinion. You say it's a manipulation or an aberration.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's an abomination.
So let's go to something else he said, right? Which is also important. You mentioned the Quran. Quran does not have problem with Jews per se. The Yahud has a problem with Zionists. What is your dalil for this? Where do you have this? I say exactly the opposite.
What do you mean? What dalil for what?
That distinction. The Quran
distinction
doesn't
what?
talk about Zionists. The Quran repudiates the Yahud, the Jews. That's who it's repudiating.
The Quran highlights the problems that were highlighted by Isa alayhi salam. Even not only the Quran, even the New Testament. When we read the New Testament, Isa alayhi salam has certain problems with the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and all those people in Jerusalem. The Quran raises similar points that the Jewish people, okay, they were not sincere with the prophets. They failed to follow the prophets, and they killed some of the prophets. So, what's the problem with that?
Yeah, exactly.
But that
and
doesn't-
and what does the Quran say? The Christians and the Jews and the mushrikeen.
But we're jumping from point. Hold on.
No.
From Zionism, we're going into
No, because
something
you
else. now.
mentioned
We're
a
going into-
distinction between Zionists and Jews. I'm saying
I think he's trying to answer the question is when we're dealing with the agenda of the Zionists.
There is a very simple way to deal with
Yeah.
this. Zionism and the Zionist state of Israel, are they secular by default?
no.
So Zionism is not a secular ideology?
No. No.
Okay.
That's the
I think I'll rest my case there.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not.
agree with you.
Exactly.
It's a-
I believe it's based in Judaism. It's
No,
based in the
you're
religion.
missing my point. Zionism as an ideology, as it was born after the first Zionist conference in 1897.
No, it's not.
Was it?
It's not.
Was it?
It's not necessarily secular. No.
No, I believe it's a secular
No.
movement, and it gave us a
It
secular
started
state.
as a secular movement, but it in principle doesn't have to be secular.
Okay.
There's nothing about it that has to
There's
be
nothing
secular.
about-
Zionism, what is Zionism? What is Zionism?
What is it?
You tell me, what is Zionism? Zionism has nothing to do with necessarily it being completely secular or irreligious. It has to do with a claim that the Jewish people have, that's their land and they have the right to occupy it.
That's the underlying
That's
claim.
exactly.
Yeah, that's-
so that's
but
not
also- but
necessarily
also-
irreligious or secular.
But I would say there's one important point or nuance that we should appreciate is that Zionism does not exist outside of the state of Palestine, right, or occupied Palestine.
It
Whereas-
could. The option of Uganda was on table.
But I'm
The Zionist
saying
movement.
as it stands today, right? Whereas Judaism can exist.
My question
Do you
is,
understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because that is like you could say the main purpose of its existence. The main purpose of Zionist existence is for that.
to take the land of Palestine.
Exactly, and the main purpose of existence, like you could still practice Judaism without having that as your main purpose in life. Correct?
Yeah, but Jewish.
Nachmanides
Jewish-
says no. You're an idolater if you don't try to occupy the land of Israel. If you stay outside of it. It's like the whole discussion we had briefly yesterday about hijrah for a Muslim. Is it wajib? Is it obligatory on a Muslim to make hijrah? There's discussions about this. You could even say, if you want, there's difference of opinion. I think I have a strong argument for my case. Nevertheless, there are opinions that it's obligatory for the Jews to go back to the land and forcefully occupy the land of what they call Israel. That is a legitimate opinion for Nachmanides and many other medieval
Are
Jewish
we talking
sages.
about Zionist?
That is Zionism.
No. Are we talking about Zionism or Judaism?
I'm saying that one interpretation of Judaism is identical to Zionism.
I'm saying Zionism as an ideology that was born during the first conference, Zionist conference in 1897 in Switzerland, is not that idea you're trying to claim it is. It's not. It's not from the Jewish.
Yeah, but
rabbis.
we're well beyond that now.
Yeah.
It's like saying,
You know the option of Uganda was on the table. Did
Yeah.
you know that? Right? If Zionism was only about going back to
No,
the land
but
of
that's because how it
Jake,
started.
you have to let me finish.
That's how it
You
started.
have to let me finish. If Zionism was only about taking the land of Palestine, the option of Uganda would never be considered. It was seriously considered by
Seriously
Zionist,
considered
by
by
Zionist
who?
ideologues.
By religious rabbis?
Thank you.
No.
You're making a point.
Exactly,
Thank you.
but now it's changed.
My
It's
point.
changed
Thank you.
To the
You just made my
religious-
point.
No, you're missing the point.
I'm saying it's not a religious movement.
It is a religious movement.
So I think I want to get back to the purpose of why I asked that question, is that should Muslims deal or engage with Zionists the same way that they engage with Yahud in general?
Yes. Yes.
So you say-
100%.
No.
What do you say?
100%.
There's a distinction. No.
No.
Because I'll give
The
you my
so-called
I'll give you
anti-Zionist
my
Jews
evidence.
are exactly the same. The only difference is the timing of when they want to take it over. That's the only
and
difference.
I think we should not indulge too long in this because we're
Yeah.
not going to agree, obviously.
Yeah.
But my view is that the Jewish people survived, flourished for over 1,000 years under the protection of Islam in the Muslim domain throughout the world, from Spain to Ottoman territory. The Jewish people flourished, prospered, lived their lives freely, and were protected. As soon as Zionism is produced and they take the land of Palestine from the Muslims, that relationship is gone. So Muslims cannot treat the Zionists and the Jewish people the same way. These are not the
Okay,
same. It's like just like we expect the world to treat us separately from ISIS, okay? Because we are not ISIS and ISIS is not us. Just like that, Jewish people are not Zionists and Zionists are not the Jewish people.
Okay, let me ask you
necessarily.
this: the Jewish people right now that are against the modern state of Israel, those people, the ones who are religious,
Yeah.
You're
making my point.
No, hold on a
You
second.
keep making my point.
Let him finish.
Let me finish.
We're gonna switch gears
I'm just
after
gonna
this.
ask this question,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna make my final point. Those people who are the religious rabbis that we see invited on Muslim podcasts, and they speak and they say we're against this modern Zionist state and all of that, are they Zionists in the sense that they believe there is going to come a time towards the end of time where they are going,
Messiah.
when the Messiah comes,
Yes.
and they're going to take over that land, and they are going to violently kill and subjugate Muslims, Christians, and anyone else who's there? Do they believe that?
Correct.
They do.
Irrelevant straw man.
No, it's not. It
It is.
means that they're Zionists. The only difference is the timing. When
No,
are they going to take over? Now, or are they going to wait 100 years or
Yeah.
1,000 years? That's the only relevant difference.
We have,
And
we
hold
the
on.
Muslims have this view when Isa alayhi salam comes back.
Exactly.
and
So
he's
we should
gonna
be
fight
honest
his
about
enemies.
it. We should be honest.
And we are honest. We keep talking
Okay.
about it. So the point is, Zionists are.
We believe that that land is ours, right?
This is where the Jewish rabbis today are against Zionism and Zionists because they have
They just
jumped the
believe the
shark.
timing's
they have
not
jumped
right.
the gun. They have taken the land before the Messiah.
Exactly. They
Messiah
believe
came.
the timing is
so
not
you're
right.
making my point.
Timing
My point is
not
that
right.
religious Judaism or Orthodox Judaism is not Zionism.
Okay, you know Rabbi Tovia Singer?
Yes, I do.
He's one of the most famous English-speaking rabbis, right?
Yeah.
I think he lives in Jerusalem. I made a video on this very topic. I said the anti-Zionist rabbis are frauds. They're phonies. Muslims should not trust them.
They're doing taqiyya?
Yes, they're doing taqiyya. I explained why. He commented on my video and he said, Jake, you're the only Muslim who spoke the truth on this topic. I rest my case. People can go and look at it.
So how do you feel about those people who say the Muslims are doing taqiyya about ISIS? They all agree with ISIS. They all like ISIS.
I will argue against it because I will show that ISIS doesn't actually have a legitimate precedent for their view. They cannot point to Ibn Kathir.
Similarly,
say,
Jewish
look,
rabbis today argue the same thing about Zionism.
Yeah, and I can argue against them. I
I
can
think we
show
have to
what
move on now.
Nachmanides
Yeah,
and Rashi
yeah.
and all these people say, and it's very clear what they're saying.
Bismillah. So, Jazakallah khair, brothers. But I just wanted to end off with
Let's end right there. We're good. No.
Yeah. What I actually want to end off with is what are some of the signs of hope you see for this ummah? So what are some of the good things that you have seen? Because we've talked about a lot of the, obviously, challenges that we have, a lot of the disagreements that we face, et cetera, et cetera. But what are some of the signs of hope that you see within the ummah?
Sorry?
What are some of the signs of hope that you see within the ummah?
Oh, absolutely. The ummah is rising.
Yeah.
The ummah is waking up. The ummah is having podcasts like this, right? The ummah is actually now discussing the real issues that affect us globally, okay? And instead of living in silos, people are coming together from across the globe, and they are working, especially Palestine. The situation in Gaza has really woken up Muslims, alhamdulillah. Not only the non-Muslims, but even the Muslims. And you know, the ummah will, inshallah, rise. Ummah will be magnificent again, inshallah. And the Islamic civilization will be great once again. If Donald Trump can say, make America great, we can also say, make the Muslim civilization great. Okay? And that means universities, libraries, scholars, intellectuals, stability, justice, economic principles that are fair. No economic justice, no social injustice. All of that will return, inshallah.
I think Jake wants to refute that.
No. No, we agree on that one. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. We agree.
I see some signs, alhamdulillah, the ummah still has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we can sit here, in all honesty, I love Adnan Rashid. It's
Likewise,
we're just disagreeing. We're passionate about these topics. It's nothing personal. I know we can get.
He's Italian, so you gotta.
We can get passionate. We can disagree. That's
he
fine.
might send a drive-by something.
See, I don't want people to get confused because some people in the comments will say, "Oh, look, Adnan is strongly opposing Jake, or Jake, vice versa." It's not like
There's
that.
nothing like
We're
that.
disagreeing.
We'll learn from each other.
We're talking about these things, and we need to disagree so we can strengthen each other's opinion, inshallah.
Absolutely.
To actually understand the critiques of what the other side has to say and take it, on board and consider it, and then people can make up their own minds. But these podcasts are extremely important, and others like it, where we can come and we can disagree. I mean, imagine if Adnan was just speaking and I let him go on for 10 minutes, and I'm thinking in my head, what this guy's saying is wrong, and I just sat here and I don't say anything. How is this beneficial?
Absolutely.
Why should I just agree?
I think
or
it
vice
starts,
versa.
I think it starts with the condition of your heart. I see a lot of people, for example, in the comment section. Do you really need to? Is that really beneficial?
Yeah,
You know
it
what I
is
mean?
beneficial.
No,
Yeah.
I would say not everything, because I would say again we should always balance everything, because hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said you could say a word carelessly, and that could cause you to go to depths.
Of course, yeah.
So I think we should always still be conscious, but we shouldn't be afraid of
Disagreeing,
disagreeing, saying what we want to say, have nasiha to one another.
Absolutely.
And then if someone gives it back to us, we accept it. And also, there is a hikmah, there is a benefit of remaining silent. Saying good or remaining silent, because you're trying to say something based from ilm, right?
The most wise
think so.
person.
Yeah.
I
The
feel
only
that.
person that's not going to get attacked from this discourse.
You know what I mean?
Who, Farid?
Yeah. Farid's just like with his hood, just like,
By the way, there was a wise person who said once that no one will regret silence. You will never regret silence. If you remain silent, there's no regret, because
I do sometimes. Honestly.
No, but you know what? I agree with Jake's point that if you believe this is the haqq, to say it is a good thing. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we just don't need to speak all the time. We can listen. We can digest. We see how sometimes we engage online. It's just all the time, just random things, or calling out people, or name calling, and all these other types of rhetoric. I think we just be conscious that whatever you say, you will be held accountable on the day of judgment. And are you going to be proud and stand behind every single thing you say? And we should, even if we believe we are on the haqq, we should still ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Signs of hope within the ummah. Farid.
So I'm not the most optimistic person in the world. Okay.
You have a cat, bro.
2.
How can a person with a cat not be optimistic?
I got sad stories about the cats. But anyways, I'm not the most optimistic person about people and the Ummah, but I'm, of course, very optimistic about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. And when Muslims are just slacking, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and fixes it for us. And when things get too hard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just gives us something that makes it all easy. So it's not a matter of hope in the Ummah per se, but I believe that things will get better in general because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it better. Not due to people striving and their efforts, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just makes it happen.
No, I believe we can appreciate good things that we see, for example, right? Because I know, for example, that it is only by the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have the ability to do khair, to do da'wah, right? But concurrently, I can be appreciative that I see signs. I see these are ultimately, we give our thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I'm appreciative that, there's this man from Bahrain who comes all the way to the coal to be with us, alhamdulillah. So I can be appreciative. I can see that as a sign that people are willing to come together for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think spreading good hope like this is important. I think it's an important thing to do. So for example, there was a brother that came in down here to the coffee shop. He doesn't know I said good things about him, but the brother mentioned him and I mentioned something good about him. He doesn't know I did that, but I feel this has an effect on the psychology of the Muslims and the iman of the Muslims. That, there was a brother who used to get up in the morning and remind people for Fajr. This to me is a good sign because oftentimes we only hear negativity. I think we need to spread some of the khair that is hidden within the Ummah. We need to popularize that because news in general only spreads the evil things, the bad things, the misfortunes. But we need a news system, which we say, in the absence of Ustad Adnan, I can say to the brothers, Ustad Adnan, he did this good thing for me. I'm still waiting for that good thing, by the way. But he did something. He did this good thing for me. I think this is something that we should do as an ummah. We should, express good things without any type of worldly gain. But we're trying to motivate and inspire people with acts of khair that's locally within our ummah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Jake, what are some good signs that you see within the
Why should I go last? I think just what everybody's saying, even this podcast is a sign of something good, right? We can come, we can talk, we can have a discussion about some of these deeper topics and try to, inshallah, educate the audience. I mean, a lot of the things that we've been doing the past, week and a half. A lot of projects going on. Inshallah, we hope that we're doing some good and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts some of our deeds. And I'm probably not as pessimistic as Farid, but I'll leave it with this. I mean, if you look at YouTube comments, sometimes you'll really get pessimistic. Right?
That's not reality.
So,
I think, that's not reality.
Or if you look on social media, you'll really get pessimistic. But then when you deal with people in person, it's totally different. You speak to people in real life and dealing with Muslims, not to say every interaction is always great and perfect, but on balance, it is good. And I do see that there is a growing, yearning for people really getting back to the deen and practicing and everything like that. And we're just trying to do our little part, whatever we can, to try to motivate people and encourage people in that. And so, this podcast is just a small piece of that.
Jazakallah khair. Some of the signs I want to appreciate, of course, our guests always being so gracious with their efforts and their time, and our host, subhanAllah, for hours. Brother Jamal, he makes a killer V60, subhanAllah, a killer V. So killer, one of the brothers drank 2 of my pots before they came to me, okay? But subhanAllah, we got brothers like this that are investing in the da'wah. Actually, we have a whole team, behind the cameras. There's a whole team of brothers who aren't taking a cent. Rather, they're giving their time, their money, their blood, their sweat, and their tears for the da'wah, trying to fund it, even though they have debts, even though they have obligations. Nobody behind the scenes is free of worries or debt or anything like that, but they're all working for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from them, and if you benefit anything from this, please make dua for them and their families. Because as I mentioned before, I know the personal life of many of the du'at. They're struggling, and all sometimes they need is that dua, that those words of encouragement. It makes the world to them. It makes the world to them. So my nasiha I see is that there are some positive signs. There are people who are trying. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to meet your worldview. There's not going to be any single person who is going to be a carbon copy of your worldview. Just appreciate goodness with people. Make dua for their and your guidance. Have that type of mindset. I think if you have this type of mindset, you can create khair. You can actually cause, in real life, positive change. The online world, there's a virtual reality world, there's AI, everything is being manipulated, and we don't understand how that world is manipulated, to what extent it tries to shape people's opinions and so forth. I think the best way to detoxify for that, the antidote for that, is that we have these in-person conversations. And we appreciate the presence and the time and effort that is made from this. And even if you disagree with somebody, make dua for the best for them. I think if we can have that mindset, there is a possibility of progress, especially in unison. If there's enough people in unison that have this mindset, inshallah ta'ala. So once again, this was a beautiful week, a culmination of a week. Conversations, projects, da'wah, people accepting Islam, people being educated about Islam. Hopefully, we're bringing people back and saving people's deen, because I truly believe one of the most important da'wah is to protect the capital, protect the existing Muslims.
Exactly.
The existing
100%.
Muslims, their hearts, prevented from being corrupted.
100%.
And we need to work hard towards that.
Inshallah.
And we all have a support structure. We have parents. We have relatives, we have wives, we have children, we have friends. There's so many people that are supporting us in so many different ways for us to be able to do that. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless them and to give them the maximum reward in this life and the next for all their efforts and their sacrifices as well. Because it's not any one person. It's not any single one person that is able to bring this. We are all dependent ultimately on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after that, we are, through the means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided, we're so dependent on each other. You know, for so many things, that the simplest thing for us to do. So jazakallah khair to all those unknown people sacrificing behind the scenes, and we have hope, we have ambition for this ummah. And as always, we live by the haqq, we die by the haqq, and just when you think life is stuck, tune in to Life Haqq.